Everybody knows that we're starting this show.
Since we're always late, we're gonna do it early today. So this will make up for every single time that we were late prior to this. So you guys get this little the backstory rather than being like, oh, welcome to Bigfoot, welcome to You Had Me at the Show. We're gonna just jump right into it because Megabit's here and he's the one that needs to hear this. He already knows because I already told him and we already talked about it. And he had a really funny idea and I'm gonna steal it and pretend like it was mine. So the chick from Megabit's love.
Are we saying hello? Are we even doing an intro?
No, we're not.
Are we just jumping? All right, let's do it.
Do this for right now. We don't even do the hello until later in the show, anyways. This is just the duologue. So, but the slow girl that Megabit follows on Protect the Innocent, one of the YouTube channels that we watch, which I'm a subscriber now. I do.
See, now I have to look this up. I'm listening to you, but I am definitely.
Well, this is going to pique your interest here. She is she's
you already are telling me a slow predator catcher.
Yeah,
are you serious?
She's like,
what's the name again?
Protect the Innocent, P.T.I. It's like the abbreviated one. But she's she sounds like she's slow, like she's got some kind of mental deficiency, and she might. I don't know. She's never she's never spoken about her struggle as a retarded person.
Dude, let me tell you something. I honestly hope so. And
that she's
reason,
retarded?
yeah, and the reason I hope so is that you're like, some fat disgusting fuck, or you're some gross fuck who's, coming after these kids, right? And it's like the ultimate Scooby-Doo episode. I would have gotten away from it with it if it wasn't for you retarded kids, like just imagine that's
they pull the mask off of the guy and he's still fat. It's just like this is like the whole part of the whole COVID thing. That's how you like bring Scooby-Doo into a modern time. Like you rip the N95 mask or whatever off of him. Mm-hmm. But no, I'm pretty sure she's slow. Maybe she's got autism, like functional autism. So what is it, like Asperger's?
Dude, she functions enough to take down predators. Isn't that good enough?
Right. Well, but when you watch her, you're like, this girl, maybe she's being coached. Like, and in reality, like
like an earpiece kind of.
Yeah, or you even look at it like these folks, they do the same thing on repeat, and who better to like do a show where they catch predator than an autistic person, right?
Well, yeah, like, because if you have to remember the same lines, you know what scares me, right? Like when it's it's like oh man, people versus Preds, people v Preds, right? That fucking guy. All right, so what is just as funny about him as it is enraging is that he's likely autistic or something, because he will say, like you said, the same stuff. He has to make sure his catchphrase gets in there. He has to make sure, certain things get said. And even if it's completely unrelated to how the guy answered him,
he just keeps going.
Yeah. Like he'll be like, the guy will say, yeah, I don't know. I was abused as a kid, and I can't believe I'm turning around to do the same thing to someone else, but I can't stop my drive. And he's like, so why are you being such an asshole? Like, and you're like, wait a minute, what? I know it's not cool, or it doesn't get him off the hook, but he just said, right? Like that was
like, you can take that and you can move forward with it in a different direction. You can do, but he's got it in his head. He's got to do it this way. And that's
like, I have to break you down.
So, yeah, I would agree that perhaps he has one form of the, like Megabit just said in the chat. He said not a tard, but might be on the spectrum, right?
Yeah.
So that's how this chick operates. She's very monotone, right? She never, she kind of just talks like this all of the time, and it's always just, why did you come here to meet with this little girl? Like, and
wow.
Yeah, it's. I've just run out of things to watch, right? So I've started watching anybody that I can find on YouTube at this point. Like, so I started watching her. I'd seen one or two of hers, and I wasn't impressed. But then Megabit's like, "Nah, you got to check it out." And I was like, "All right, I'll watch the retarded girl." And it's kind of like you're kind of like how our president is the first special needs president that we've ever had. Like, she's the.
Are we sure the first?
Well,
come on.
I don't know how many presidents we've really had. I believe in like
that
fair. Whole
there was like
time and
Washington
shit.
yeah something. I've heard a little bit of that theory, and I'm like, yeah, that could I could
there are better times. And in reality, like what if you look at a building and it says, how many buildings do you know of that have existed in their
3.
current state? Well, that's it, right?
I only know 3 buildings.
My house, my garage,
my
my shed, and that's it.
That's
Anything
it.
beyond that is too much. It's like
I've seen other ones, but I don't know any other than those 3.
Like in the biblical sense, you have not known these buildings.
That's
right. But yeah, so she's like, I've been watching her shit, and then I find out the other day, right? I don't remember how it was like a post on YouTube. You know how you can do posts on YouTube or whatever, and they're like they trick you because you're like, oh, new content, right? But it's actually just a post or whatever. And then,
or it's like a short, right? Where it's
those
like
are the worst,
for 2 seconds,
right?
Yeah.
And so I see that, and she's like, "Hey, I've got this Instagram. You should check out my personal Instagram. I do like makeup and shit and clothing and whatever. This is my personal thing." So I look it up because I'm like, I feel like I've seen enough of her. You so rarely see her because she's always got the mask and the hat and her hair tied up or whatever.
Right.
You see so little of her, but you like know that she's hot, right? So you're kind of like, oh man, I got to get a look at this, right? So I pop open her Instagram, and sure enough, she's like doing some scantily clad shit. And
really?
And she's got like a plate carrier on, but like I don't know, like maybe a tank top or whatever. So it's like Megabit and I were talking about it. He's like, yeah, I saw she was doing up like a GoFundMe for a plate carrier, and I was like, not because she's like
plate carrier,
but like a bulletproof vest. Like it's the vest, but then you put
the
sappy plate inside of it. Yeah. So I was like, it's not that she was worried about getting shot or stabbed or whatever. She just needed something to like model, right, for her Instagram. And I'm like, okay, Instagram, whatever, maybe she's doing these cute photos for like the sickos like us who are like, well, let's see what she looks like. I think she sounds hot, I gotta see what she looks like, and maybe she's gonna sell some merch and do some bullshit brand
now, is this
ambassadors or whatever.
Is this the It's a Vigilante?
That's the one. Yeah, if you go to it's
see, she's still wearing a mask, so it's kind of like
it's tough to see. I mean, unless her mouth looks like Baraka from Mortal Kombat, like the rest of her, she's got a pretty good situation going on. But then I find out that she's got an OnlyFans, of course.
No, stop it.
She sure does. She's got an OnlyFans. Yep. So if anybody subscribes to It's a Predator's OnlyFans, just let us know. Share the photos that you're able to snatch from it and the videos. She's got. I opened up the OnlyFans.
So what is it called? Like, what is it? What did she change the name, or is she literally keep the same shit?
No, it's associated. I don't. Gosh.
Dude, could you imagine if she was like, "Hi, it's a Vigilante."
Yeah, It's a Vigilante. Let me see if I can find it again.
I don't know what her name is. Hi, it's Janice. I don't know. Whatever.
I don't know either. I don't know enough about this lady.
Oh, dude, come on. That's so... Oh, no. Why do they always do... Is it really that bad? Is she not making enough money?
Times are tough. Yeah, you got to go to... Whoops.
33,000 followers.
On Instagram already?
No, on
on her
YouTube,
OnlyFans?
dude.
Oh.
No, YouTube.
Well, I'm talking about the OnlyFans.
Well, I'm saying she could be making... If she monetizes it off of that, like... Do you understand?
She's got 14 posts. Now I can't see them. I'm not subscribed or anything. So let me. I'm going to read through some of these. Forest Nymph. Oh, her post or her name is. It's a Vigilante. It's the same thing. She
Dude,
says,
shut up.
Nope. Listen, I spend most of my time spreading awareness of and protecting the innocent through my organization.
Something. I don't know.
Yeah. Come have a peek into my more personal side of me while also helping fund my activism. Disclaimer. Whatever. It's $29.99 a month to subscribe. And
wow.
Yeah, she's got. Let's see here. I'm going to scoot down to the bottom here. July 21st. So this is relatively new. It's less than a week old. She's got
Xbox or something. What's going on?
She's got what? What?
I said, is she like saving up for an Xbox? What's going on?
No, she's been like panhandling in her videos lately. Like she'll interrupt in the middle of the video and she'll be like, "Hey, she doesn't have any like emotion to it or whatever. She'll be like, hey, so it's being a predator catcher, we have a dream, we want to do all this other shit and blah blah blah, and in order to do that we need money to do it, and my dream is to like spread this all across the world and so on and whatever." Across
the world?
Yeah. Well, she says that she wants to have like predator catchers in the UK or whatever, and which
are there not?
I would imagine. So she's like, coming from a business perspective, she's trying to like tap into these markets that are already pretty saturated. Now, when I think of predator catchers, I think of like, okay, there's, we've got People versus Pred and Ghost, right, from whatever that fucking one is. There's another predator catcher in San Diego. There's 2 of them there, and they're both pretty big, right? And then you've got this one, Protect the Innocent, down in the Tampa area in Florida. And then, so I would consider that Florida. Like, I would, maybe even like the Florida, Georgia, Alabama, like in that tri-state area. And then
Florida is rather large. I'll give you that.
Which,
but,
if there was a southern Florida, I would buy in. I would be like, okay, yeah.
Sure, if
Miami,
you told me,
right?
yeah, Miami, you could give me Orlando for the Disney related. Like, how many fams on vacation? You know?
Maybe it would need its own. So yeah, maybe like there should be 3 in Florida. But then again, we're back at the, we were trying to give her a little bit of credit, but like, we're at a point where like, no, you don't need to do it all around the world. You need to do it around your state, because your state alone needs to be addressed, right? So then you've got people in Pennsylvania. I know of like 2 or 3 predator catchers in Pennsylvania. We've got Pop Squad in your neck of the woods. We got who else do we have? Oh, we got CPP in Colorado, and he does a lot. Some in like New Mexico and shit.
Yeah, and then we have the Indiana people. Or did you say that already?
No, we haven't even gotten to PCI and PCM. And then we have, that's in Indiana, and then we have in Ohio DAP. There's some like they kind of like work together.
They overlap. Oh, and then there's Skeet Hansen. I think where's he's around there. He's Michigan. Well, he was just in Michigan. Okay. His latest catch was a Michigan guy. They were at like some Detroit car, not show, but like a parade, but with all awesome cars. Really, I don't know.
Yeah, I see a lot of them going up to Michigan. Like, that seems like it's an untapped market where people are. They they go on vacation to go catch predators in Michigan. Like, that's where you need them. She's trying to like, well, I'd like to spread this all over the world. Like, hey, if there's somebody in that's one of those things where it would be like, if you just kind of like networked with other predator catchers, you could be like, hey man, we have the logs of somebody out in Arizona. Do you want to take it? And then you send it over to
really
one of
not
them.
Hard. I mean,
so I don't know. But that's what she's trying to do. That's why she has an OnlyFans. And let me read some of these post titles to you. One of them, and they're all like, if you look, I've got like a lock screen. It tells me no, like I can't see it. So it says Forest Nymph is one of them. There's one that's like a black heart, a flower, and a peach. So I assume it's a butt. And then one says peachy, and then it's got the peach icon, and then the black heart. So she's kind of doing like a remix of the previous one. Some behind the scenes from my last shoot, and it's got like a little sugary, like a little sweet face or whatever. Hourglass, unzipped with the little zipped mouth and the fire and the hearts. What do you think of this bodysuit? Brass knuckles with a heart and heart eyes and a cherry. I'm loving this 2-piece set. Had to spam. What do you think?
Jeez.
Yeah, and so like she's got. Let's see here. Well, she was logged in about 15 minutes ago, so we know that.
Oh, she heard we were talking about it.
She must be it. She's got 14 posts and 16 pieces of media. So, one of them is a video. So if anyone's on Instagram, or I'm sorry, on OnlyFans, and they want to see, it's a vigilante, which, I mean, I think we can all agree she's got whatever going on. I mean, she's got pretty eyes.
Sure.
She's like correct proportions. She's not a fat person. So, I mean, like, I think like if you're into that sort of thing, just all I ask is that you share the pictures, like take screenshots and shit. I don't know if OnlyFans won't let you like save stuff to your phone.
I don't know. I have no idea how that goes, because I will tell you, I used to watch a show called Daywave.
You used to watch OnlyFans? I've recently gotten away from it. It's brand new, Jerry. It's only like a year old.
Yeah, I've had to walk away. No. So I used to watch a show. I almost said it again. I almost watched the show OnlyFans. I watched the show Daywave, where a guy on the show, he had this magic about him, where they would, like, say there was a content creator, right? And maybe it was a girl who was shitty at cooking, but somehow had a YouTube cooking show, right? Or it was a hot girl doing whatever, right? Like, who, name some genre on YouTube kind of thing that generally men or other people have already done well, but there's a girl who says, I'm hot enough, I could do X, right? Yeah. Like, I'm a ghost hunting girl because I have boobs, right? And then inevitably they would type her. Yeah. But you know what I mean, right? And then it's like they would just type their name in, and they'd be like, 5, 4, 3, to here's her OnlyFans, here's all their naked like it was just here's all their pictures. And it was like, dude, how do you even get that quick? How? You know, it's like I can't imagine it's as simple as just putting in such and such OnlyFans free picture. Like I can't imagine it's that simple. But he had a way, and it was just like, you know what? This is some degenerate shit, and the show itself would get pretty degenerate, and it would cross that borderline of like there are actual retarded people. Okay, here's where I had to really check myself. Okay, I don't know how often you, Tom, have maybe listened or watched like certain content, and then it goes to a certain place, and you go, should I really keep? Should I? Like,
are we talking about porn?
No.
Oh, okay.
So, for example, there are. It's a YouTube show, right? And so it's a bunch of guys who find lolcows, essentially. You know, like what's that guy, Chris something or other? There, he just got arrested for fucking his mom or something. Chris Chan, right?
Yeah.
He's a lolcow. You know, not particularly like that. They're not big, these people, but they're like, they'll find some real lolcows. And yes, it's one of those situations where it's like, yeah, this is funny. But then you realize, oh, man.
That person's retarded.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so they happened upon a whole genre of videos where literally severely autistic and retarded people take VHS videos, the actual physical entity, not actually watch it, okay?
Right.
And their review will be about the quality of the tape itself. Okay? And they will pick up the tape and they'll slam it and they'll take it in and out of the case and then they'll put it up and down and they never say anything. And then that's it. That's the video, you know? Well, then they all started to know each other, like these predator networks, you know? Mm. And then they started having rap beefs. And this one black guy they kept calling the N-word, and he responded by saying incest was cool. Like he wrote a whole song. Incest, incest, incest's a good thing to do. Ba-da-da-da-da. And he's like retarded, but it's this kind of amazing song when you think about it. And he's doing it. He's doing it to trigger these other retarded kids who are calling him the N-word because and then it's the whole thing, right? And they're covering it, and you go, man, this is the craziest shit I think I've ever seen in my entire life. And then you go, wait, should I really be doing this?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you have to have like that moment.
Stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you go, yeah, this is, if I forgot that there's someone judging me somewhere or that I need to be a better person or something, this is the craziest shit I've ever seen. You know, I mean, people wonder if we're like in Revelation or in the apocalypse or something like, or end times, right? And it's like, well, I'm not sure, but let me throw this at you. Would you ever think if we weren't near the end times that there would be YouTube rap battles where some retarded kids would be calling another kid the N-word while he claps back? Incest. Right, and he claps back at it with an incest hit music video.
I feel like
and on, but that was just the start. It kept going. And
so there was some beef in the
slur
community. When did It's a Vigilante get in there and get involved? When did she?
Oh well, my point is like with the OnlyFans, right?
No,
so then
I'm saying that she's also.
Oh, because she's slow, yeah. Well, I couldn't tell it was her at first because she was wearing the mask, and you know.
She didn't have it on, so you know what she looks like. You're the only one who knows.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to go back and research that show.
You're gonna have to go track down. It's a Vigilante's true form.
OnlyFans through.
Do you think
this show?
Do you think, Jerry, that if you subscribe to the OnlyFans, do you think that you would see her face, or do you think she would be like nude with the mask on?
Oh, I think it's mask on.
Really?
I think, yeah. Okay. Look, okay, so I can understand somewhat, like in this protect the innocent thing where you're like, all right, you're a girl, you're going up to these predators by yourself. You know, at the very least, you don't want them to be able to track you down later, maybe. So, mask on or whatever. All right, I could sort of see it. But then you go, all right, well, now you're going beyond just this, and you're trying to market yourself as just anything and everything, right? But you still have the day job.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you still have that problem where you cannot go from YouTube.
You still can't get the mask off. You gotta.
Right. Batman can't just, like, he has to make sure there's no connection between him and Bruce Wayne.
So she could have done that by not.
That's
saying,
right. She could have just had an OnlyFans without saying anything.
Yeah, that's what I would have done if I had a good body and I was trying to do something. I would have been like, hey man, I would have been on the so you can't even Spectrum? But she'd have to. Yeah, I would also be that guy. But you can't use your platform to be like, hey, in the coming days, I'm gonna do this thing.
You're gonna see my butthole.
Fans, right?
Right.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I can't say that because there's gonna be some sickos who are like, oh, as soon as they find out, they see the P.T.I. hat or whatever, they're gonna look you up on YouTube, and then they're gonna find you, and then they're gonna spread your shit. So just like as you spread your shit, right? You know,
I was gonna say.
So I had to beat you to it because I'm like, you're here, but I'm just a little bit lower at all times. I gotta maintain that. But yeah, so there's like. She's kind of in between a rock and a hard place where she's like, you want to market your...
Which photo?
All of them, I would hope, right? But where she like wants to use that platform to be like, hey, go over here and spend money by looking at me, spreading my cheeks and, licking my finger and stuff. And wearing a bulletproof vest at the same time. But then you can't because you're like, hey, go over here. And then they're like, okay, well, I'm going to go over there and I'm going to find out who you are. And I'm going to... So instead, she's got to wear the mask. But, my argument...
If she's into some BDSM dress up, that works just fine. But
you'd have to always wear the GIMP mask, right? It's just a GIMP mask, but it's only here, right? So it's like it's got the zip, but it's just up to here, and it wraps around. And the rest of her face continues to be unexposed or uncovered, right? Unexposed would just be covered, right? Anyways, she yeah, like where was I going to go with that? I had something, but whatever. It doesn't matter. So mask on. We think we can agree that it's a mask on situation, even if you pay. I feel like if you're paying $30 a month, and for the content, I don't know if you have to pay for the content too, but like I feel like if you're paying $30 a month, you should be able to at least see her face. I actually did see a post one time on, I don't know if it was on Twitter or Facebook or something, but this is at like the origin of OnlyFans, and OnlyFans. Goes way back to like there was a point where like OnlyFans was announced, and at the time that OnlyFans was announced, it was like, hey, go on here, show your butthole for money, and whatever. In these dark times,
will rat you out for not paying your taxes,
right? Hello. But even in the beginning, it was, hey, do this, you make some money, but it's a sex thing. It's always been about sex. Nobody's ever been like, hey, OnlyFans is a great place to learn a new trade. Right? It's not like you can go. It's not like subscribe to my OnlyFans and watch me paint pictures fully clothed. Right? It's never
my God,
been
dude!
that.
Can you imagine the girls, right, who went to OnlyFans? Like maybe, and by the way, it's some crazy shit, and it's tied into like Great Reset stuff for all of you. Apparently, I think it might be Germany or the Netherlands, one of the two that are having their.
The Netherlands.
Yeah. Well, that whole mantra where everybody, all these certain men and women have been saying that sex work is real work.
Yeah.
And that led to the LOL trolling with the taxes and stuff for the OnlyFans girls. Well, it turns out that the economy is so shit in one of those two places, I think. I saw it today. I'll have to look it up again. But apparently, if you turn... they will know if you turn down sex work as a job. Like, they may offer it as a job. And they're like, okay, look, but this is a job, though. You will get paid. And if you turn it down...
You no longer qualify for unemployment.
You no longer qualify for unemployment or bennies or whatever it is, because we have literally offered you a job.
Right. I remember. I vaguely remember that. That was some time ago too. That's been going on. If it's still going on,
I had no idea, but it's apparently still going on.
I think that's awesome because then it kind of like, it forces their hands. So it'll be like, well, is it work or no?
And they're Tom, like, well, I think it forces both their hands. Am I right?
Well, depending on the job description, right? It might just be a one-hander. But somebody had
Or
posted
no-hander.
saying, yeah, well, um, the somebody had posted that they were like, would anybody subscribe to my OnlyFans if I started one? There wouldn't be any sexual content on it, and I'm like, well, then the answer will be no, because that's exactly what like Instagram or Snapchat is for, or your Facebook Reels or Stories or
any
whatever.
other
Like,
place.
do
In
that.
any other place.
Those places, because as soon as you market it on OnlyFans, people are going to be like, well, how come I can't see nipples, right? How come I can't see you doing some really disgusting thing? That's what I pay $30 a month to do, and I think a lot of people. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say, like, I could see, and if a person was completely naive, and they said, well, no, I thought, because it's called OnlyFans, I thought it was for only my fans, and it was like not PayPal alternative, but say a Patreon alternative. Maybe someone thought that's what they just were.
Oh, okay.
At least feigning ignorance. At
this point, it was well known that it was a sex thing, right?
I mean, I'm just saying though, right? Like, imagine then you go, well, okay, I understand where you're coming from. However, that's not what the site is for. Go back to your fucking Patreon or your Subscribe Star or whatever. And it's and it's just so funny. Like, imagine the person who, whether they know what an OnlyFans is or not, right? They're sitting there going, okay, I can't get people on my YouTube or my Instagram or my Snapchat or my TikTok or my Facebook or my Twitter.
Right. What's going to sell? Maybe this OnlyFans is the...
I can't get them to pay. You understand? And then you just go, I know what it is. It's because I'm not doing exclusive content.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not going to.
That's why we're not subscribing to you for free. Is because it's not exclusive.
That's right. Yeah, or even the people who are free, right? Like, she's like, oh, I don't have a like. Let's say she had 30,000 followers on YouTube, but only 100 Patreon.
Sure.
And you go, well, forgetting, of course, she may have paid for followers. Yeah. And then you go, all right, well, why do I have such a low return? Oh, is it because there's no exclusivity to all of this?
That's got to be it.
That's got to be it. It's not that, only 100 people hope to pay me for this and then eventually get like a nice heartfelt note, personalized with a kiss.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'll tell you what, and I hope this doesn't offend any of my friends, but I will not pay money. I will not pay money for your content, anybody, because like I don't even pay money for like Hollywood content, right? Like I refuse to pay for content unless it's something that like for the kids, right? Like if we go to the movies, I'll pay money, or if it's like some rare thing, like I'll go to the movies for some like horror movie. We talked about this last week, right? Or 2 weeks ago, like The Witch and The Lighthouse and some stuff that I want to support. I'll go because I know that without my support, they'll fizzle out. That's the only reason I'll pay for content, right? If it's a friend, I'll support them in any way that I can. I mean, if you were to ask me, hey man, like, will you give me $20 for this or that or the other? Yeah, I'll help you. I'm happy to, but I'm not going to do it exclusively because I'm like, I need to pay for your content, right? I just never will, right? Because at that point we stop being friends. I become a customer. Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
And so the same is.
What about even if it's like $1? Like, just, hey man.
I would say I'm happy to support you. I will happily support you, but I don't need your content, right? Like, you're giving me the content anyways. Most of my friends are, right? We're having our banters and we're having a good time. I'm getting it anyways. I'll give you money if you want me to invest in your whatever, your dreams or whatever. If I can help in any way, I will.
Sure.
If it's just a matter of, hey, spread the word, I'm happy to. I'm happy to do all that stuff. But like I said, if all of a sudden you're like, well, I'm going to cut you off as a friend until you pay $30 a month for my content, right? At that point, I realize that I'm being relegated to like a position of simp rather than friend, right?
Oh, Tom, can I ask you this though? However,
go ahead.
Let me throw this out there.
Sure.
For example, I mean, and I don't want to drudge up an old joke, so I'm going to leave Stephicus's mom out of this.
Oh no. Don't put me on the spot, Jerry. I can't lie on this program.
No, but I know we're a truth-telling show. I'm sorry. This is where we have to get down to the nitty-gritty here. If, for example, you happen to be, let's say you were one of the initial followers of, what's this called again? Protect the Innocent, right?
Yeah.
And eventually now she's, you know, like, and you get to the point where you can interact with her because you're an OG. You understand
Sure.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm an old friend.
Yeah. And then she's like, well, you know, I just want to let you guys know, all my old friends here, that I'm doing some exclusive content. I'll even give you guys a discount because, you know, you've been here for forever, but the old lady's got to make some money off her boobies. And by the way, there will be boobies. Here's the discount code. What do you do then?
So here's the situation, Jerry. Am I single in this situation? Let me ask you that.
Whatever is the most difficult situation for you to say no.
So, okay, well, either way, here's my answer. I'll give you the answer for both, okay?
Okay.
I'm happily married, right? As is the case currently. I'm happily married. My friend, the slow girl from Protect the Innocent, asks me, hey, as an old friend of the show or of the program, you've supported me all along the way. You've encouraged me. You've been there. You've helped film, maybe. I don't know, like to what extent I've helped, if I have, even to that point where like she and I are tight. And she asks me that, I would feel like she was not a friend at that point, because I know that my friends would never corner me and say, hey, check out my boobs, right? Or like, hey, neither would I expect them to be like, hey, look at my boobs, or feel comfortable enough around me to show their boobs, nor would I expect them to be like, hey, will you pay to look at my boobs, right? Now, if I was a single guy...
Which is weird, because Tom and I have had this conversation off the show before, and my
answer was different.
His answer was... Well, we were talking... Because I remember I told you, I said, Tom, I really can't get FOJ Live off the ground, so here's what I'm thinking. Would you join this?
You never invited me to. You invited me to be on the show a couple times, and I was happy to, but you never invited me to be a full-time staffer. So
no, only
you put your boobs away. You put your boobs away, Jerry. But if I was a single guy and I was actively helping out P.T.I, and I still had the same mentality that I have now, where I'm like, you know, I don't want it. Like I don't. It's tough to say, because I don't know how much of my personality and my opinion of porn is based on my marriage versus my faith, right? And how much of my faith is based on my marriage, right? So I have no idea what it would be. But I would say if young, single, 20, how old was I when I got married? I was young. I was about 19, 20. If I was that age, or if I was her age and I wasn't married or whatever, because I think she's young. She's relatively young. I feel like if I was close enough to her, if I was tight, if I was a friend of hers and helping her along the way, I feel like I probably would have seen her boobs already. I probably would have made that happen. I would have gotten.
Well, not only that, but if this is a girl that is willing to go to the only, like, you literally already have 33,000 followers, and you're just like, all right, that's not enough attention for me. I also have to show off my butthole, you know, like. I can't imagine that if you were in her life like that you wouldn't have already... Like, I remember...
You would have done something, right? You would have helped in some way.
Dude, let me throw this out there to you, right? There was this...
I would probably actually be offended that she was trying to, like, make me pay to look at her boobs. I would be offended. That would be my answer.
Dude, I'm so glad you said that. Because, again, I'm a happily married person, and I never did anything with the person I'm going to talk about. All right? But they're in the comedy scene... There were a few people. Well, first of all, there were always the guys who were just hooking up with all these girls, you know, or whatever. But then there were the girls who definitely were hooking up with the guy, you know. And when this one particular, I'm not going to put her out on blast or anything, but this one particular girl, she was kind of new on the scene. She had moved
Stephanie
up.
Wolf? Is it, or that Wolf girl?
No.
Oh, no. Is that her name,
no.
Stephanie Wolf?
I don't know if that's her name, if I'm thinking of the right person.
Yeah, she was like the one who got in trouble at the early stages of Trump's presidency because she said some bullshit about Trump, and then like everybody canceled her. And then she was
No, but see, what I was thinking of, there was a comedian who wasn't very popular, and she just slept with the porn star James Dean for like attention, I guess.
Sure.
And then got mad when that's what everybody remembered her for. It's like, well, you just fucked the porn star. Like, you know, what were you, you know,
she was thinking she would be the next Kardashian. is what she
Oh,
thought.
dude, she was like, she took the feminist approach afterwards, like it was horrible, and he was such a, whatever, right?
Well, he was a porn star, so I mean, like,
well, yeah,
did
but
she
first,
expect to
it's
be
like,
wined and dined or something?
I don't know. And the funny thing is I opened up for this comedian, Sean Patton, in my state a couple of times, and one of the times when we were hanging out, he told me he was dating her just before, or he had hooked up with her. There was maybe some promise there, and next thing you know,
she fucked a porn star.
Fucks a porn star
Yuck.
on camera.
Yuck.
And it gets released, and like we're at the show, and he just had found out about it like that day or the day before or something. He's like showing me. He's like, "This is my ex-girlfriend. Look at this."
Was he hurt?
And I'm like, yeah. Well, he was disturbed. Certainly, I'm sure if he was hurt, he was hiding it as much as he could.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a guy.
Yeah, I don't even know. Like
right.
You do a weekend worth of shows. You maybe do 5 or 6 shows together, and you barely hang out in between because you're either doing the set or you're not, or you're not. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah. Well, what I mean is like you're in the backstage, you're prepping for your set. You're not listening to me. You're the headline. Yeah. And then I'm watching you as a sure. And then you go do your thing, and I go home, right?
Yeah.
But we got to know each other as much as you could in that circumstance. But you're still not, as two guys who barely know each other, going to go, this is it. Right. And anyway.
How did it come up? Because obviously, like, there was some
He literally walked back into, because it was a venue at the mall, right? So he walks through the mall doors on, let's say, day 2. And he just goes, dude, you want to know something fucked up? Like, yeah.
Okay, well, you've sold me. Because I know that's a conversation that I've had. Like, I've gone up to people who, like, maybe I barely know. And said, whoa.
Yeah, at least we hung out the night before, right? We did a show together, or like we talked afterwards for like half an hour. Oh, okay.
Do you feel like that's kind of like like a deal breaker? Like if you're, so for me,
oh my gosh,
I was very like careful in my younger years. Before I was married, I was very careful. After I was married, I've not been careful, right? No, I'm just kidding. In my early years before I was married,
you have monkeypox?
Right, yeah. That's why I have a beard, right? So that you guys can't see my monkeypox. That's why I always wear underwear, so that you guys can't see that I have monkeypox.
Right.
I live an alternative lifestyle. But no, in my younger years, I was very like, I got around or whatever, and I had some fun. Mm-hmm. But for me, I was still very like strict about the sort of woman I would even entertain being with. Or knowing, right? As you often you talked about knowing buildings earlier. Before I knew a woman, I would have to know a little bit about her backstory and whatever. And the rule of 3, right? For a guy, whatever number a guy gives, you divide it by 3 and you get the real number. But for a woman, whatever number she gives, you multiply it by 3. So even with that, and that's a thing. So even with that in mind, I was still very strict about what women I would end up hooking up with. And one thing for me has always been never with a black guy. If I ever found out it was a woman who's ever been with a black guy, that was automatic turn off. No, thank you. And then the other one would be like, somebody like a porn star, right? Or they themselves have racked up porn star numbers, right?
Dude.
And I made
or even in
mistake.
this modern age. Oh, all right. I'll say.
Now it's even worse. No, now it's even worse. But back then, I mean, this is back in the early 2000s. So I mean, it wasn't quite as bad as it is now. And now you've got to deal with like women who are hooking up with gay men and gay men who are spreading all sorts of disease everywhere. Like, and I think that's probably a good segue into our next segment called "You Had Me at Monkeypox." Are we talking about monkeypox, Jerry?
Dude, I think we can. I guess but to answer your question, after what? I mean, I did have. Okay. Man,
Stephicus has never been with a black guy, so I want to make that clear that.
She's saying it.
Yeah, she's putting that out there because she knows that like that's a turn off for everybody in the crowd. Like like if you were to come in here and be like, yeah, well, I was with a black guy, everyone would be like, oh, no, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Right. I can't. All right,
do it. I already did the joke, so it's okay.
I can't. I don't even want to. I'm going to leave it where it is. But
leave me hanging on that one.
No, I'm not. I mean, obviously 8 to 10 inches long. Hey, just
Well, that's
that much.
actually not even true. I've come to find out. Yeah, it's actually just that was actually
Wow,
started. You
what a
know who
mess.
started that rumor?
Black guys.
Black guys. Yeah, and you
I
know
mean,
who
why
like,
wouldn't you make that
but
rumor? I
but
don't.
here's the
You know,
thing: like the black guys
like
who actually are well hung. Do you know? Do you
yeah,
know who like black guys statistically end up with? Fat white women.
fat white women. Yeah.
Right, and those are the
Well, you
ones
know who
that. Yeah.
hates, dude.
Go ahead.
Oh my God. You know that there's this thing, and by the way, for everybody who might be listening to the show and getting mad at Tom, like I don't want whatever, right? I want you to also look up every black woman blog reaction when they find out a famous black guy is inevitably married to a white woman.
Yeah. They hate it.
And I can't explain it, but if you want to see hatred, holy shit. they don't not like that.
So there's it's a weird situation where like skinny or like white guys who are in
and Asian
shape,
girls too. Don't forget, like if
Yeah.
they're rich black men, they may end up with an Asian woman.
That's true. Now, so it's kind of a weird situation where like white men who are physically fit and maybe funny and have a good personality, but you have to be physically in good shape. Like you'll never see a fat guy with a black woman, never. Like an attractive black woman, you never will. But
an attractive? No,
right.
I can't.
Conversely, you will see skinny, kind of like black guys who are like somewhat athletic in many cases, which most black guys are athletic because they were bred that way, right? But you'll see them with fat white women always, right? But that's a fact. No, don't shake your head at me, Jerry. Black people were specifically bred to be more athletic, okay? But and I mean that's a fact that we can go back to the 1800s and we can see that there were plantations
including
that
Fat Albert
specifically bred black people to be like they were
no
steers,
there is
right?
well it's
yeah,
that
like,
I, well
they were
I know
farm animals.
do you ever find do you ever find that it's like it's weird that like we're not saying it's a good thing, by the way, we're just saying it was a thing and then people would be mad about it. Like people will watch, let's say for example, Django, right?
Sure, Django
and they'll love all the memes.
This is the prequel, Django. Django. It's just him being a slave.
It's Django Chain. Yeah, it's Django Chain.
The prequel.
And that so it goes Django Chain, Django Unchained, then it's Django Resurrection, I think.
Django Rechained. He's brought back to the plantation. Back to the plantation.
He has to infiltrate the plantation. You know, play
He's an
pretend.
undercover slave.
Dude, oh my gosh! All right, buddy cop movie with him and Samuel L. Jackson.
It would not be Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh no,
it would be
wait,
Chan.
him.
It would be
yes,
Jackie
him and Jackie Chan is underground.
He was one of those Chinamen who was building the railroad.
Chinaman. Dude, use the preferred nomenclature, please.
The Wuhanians.
No, you remember?
Megabit said Django off the chain.
Django in gold chains. How about that?
And he's a rapper at this point. Like how long?
Yeah,
Django was actually granted eternal life because of a genie that he found in one of them. So he's able to
was
now
the genie Will Smith.
So yeah, that's of course it would be Will Smith, right?
All right.
But now he's like in the year 2022 and he's a rapper.
Mm-hmm.
He's a SoundCloud rapper. And that's Django off the chain.
Oh, Django 2 Chains. That right? That was
based on a true story.
And it's actually just Jamie Foxx doing Ray Charles.
It's just him rapping because he's also a rapper.
Oh, that's right.
Remember?
He's like no, is it R&B or deep rap? I don't even know.
I don't know. He did like some songs on the Any Given Sunday soundtrack, I think.
Yes, he did. Right.
But maybe it also corrected us, and he said that it's Oriental.
Oh, that's right.
The word that we want.
You're right. All right. But yeah, so what the hell was I even getting at? I don't know.
We got racist.
Oh. What I was saying is that people don't like. They would try to cancel you for saying what you said, right?
But it's try, but I don't have anything going on that they can cancel me for.
No, but you understand, right? It's like, no, but it was in this. All you have to do is watch fucking like some Ken Burns shit, you know, or like
watch the History Channel.
And
during the daytime, right?
Yeah, it's like that Bill Burr bit where he talks about the sportscaster who talked about how basically the same subject, and he was like, well, yeah, of course they do better in sports because they have this quick twitch, which comes from the breeding that they did to make sure that they were better than. And then suddenly, like the joke is that let's say here's you talking about it, right? And then here's this fellow sportscaster doing this.
Yeah.
And this,
Nobody wants to be like
and
associated
this,
with history because it's
and
not favorable.
and then they fired him, and he's just like, I was just talking about the quick twitch, and he's like still trying to defend himself after he ruined his career. But the point is, it's like, look, you're free to admit and rightfully admonish all the horrors of slavery and the slave trade, all of it, right? But then there are two things you don't want to admit, which is one, that it took for people in Africa to sell them to people for the actual slave trade.
And most of them didn't even come to North America. Most of them actually went to Central and South America.
Dude, just saying though, right? No one wants to admit that part because when it's a trade, that means there's a actual business transaction. No one wants to talk about that. And then the second part is, it's like, yeah, they bred people to forcibly, like that's why they were like, what it was essentially rape in all of it, because you had to, as a slave, you had to do things against your will and included breeding and all this sort of stuff. It's like, well, yeah, that's what, I mean, it's like even today with the Great Reset and stuff, it's literally just manifesting eugenicists' wet dreams to try to kill off the weak and stupid who would fold under pressure and get a bunch of jabs, You know
what I'm curious about here? Stephicus in the chat said, she said, I always say I'm in the mood for Oriental. And,
like
I think...
the food?
Yeah. Well, it's just like, with the food and with Oriental men, either way you want more, like immediately after, right?
I see.
It's never enough. But and I would never say that about Stephicus. She's a loyal mother, and actually, I do want to say this.
Tom.
We had a bit of a blessing. I don't know if I can't imagine I'm allowed to talk about it on the show, but they had a bit of a blessing recently with their child, and so I just want to say on the air.
Well, whatever it is, congrats.
We're all very happy for the success that came in that event. Like I said, I don't know. I can't imagine I'm allowed to talk about it on the air. But she says this,
it'd be a hell of a segue. Let's put it that
right.
way.
But she says Oriental, right? And like, if you think back to like 5 years ago, Oriental was still an okay word. You could still use Oriental. Nobody cared. Even the Oriental people didn't care. They're like, why are we banning that word now? Like, and the same thing.
Well, they're from the Orient. I mean,
right.
I don't know who came up with the word the Orient, but
talk to them, right?
And it's what I mean is, it's a location. It's not.
Right.
Do you understand? It's not like
no,
and again, or something. Which
saying Japs,
you know what I mean?
Or Chinaman. To me, like if you say Chinaman, it's just like you're saying a person from China, man from China. But anyways, these people, you people, right? All of a sudden, like get upset that we're saying these words that up until recently you were allowed to say it and was like okay. The whole Latinx thing, right? And they're like, no Latin person, no Hispanic wants that. What?
No, I'm sorry.
Please correct
I need to. I'm sorry. We here at You Had Me at Bigfoot are a truth-telling show, and I'm not going to sit here and let us be out of date.
Far be it from me.
I don't want us to be behind the times. They are called breakfast taco Americans.
Oh, that's right.
Or Bodegaans.
Who mispronounced bodega?
Excuse me, Tom. You're I don't think
that can't be the real pronunciation.
Bodegaans.
That can't be the correct pronunciation.
Bodegians.
But let me finish my joke, Jerry. I have a good one.
I'm sorry.
I'm hoping I don't butcher it because like I'm not a professional comedian. But so this whole thing with Oriental, you can't say that anymore. Chinaman, that was an okay term up and through the like late 90s at least. I don't even remember when it stopped. Latinx, all of a sudden they want to like they want to change the words to things that the people that are affected by it aren't interested in, right? So they're playing these silly games, and we laugh at our grandmothers, right, and our grandfathers who are like extremely racist, but they're not being racist. They're just saying things that they grew up with, right? And they're just whatever.
Sure.
And we're kind of the same way. Like all of a sudden we say faggot. And people are like, whoa, you can't say faggot. Well, queer, right. Okay. And they're like, whoa, you can't say queer either. And I'm like, are you serious?
Which is weird because queer is literally in the LGBTQ.
Right. Yeah, so they're like, you can't say that anymore. And, you start to realize, you're like, maybe we were a little hard on our grandmothers. and our grandfathers, right? But because we would often be like, "Hey, Grandma, you can't say that anymore." But now we're here, like in the year 2022.
We're here. We're queer.
Right? Yeah. Well, you can't say that anymore. But we're here now in 2022. And every day I find myself walking around and I'll say something and someone will say, "Hey, you can't say that." And I'll say, "Since when can't I say the word nigger?" Right? I did it. I went there. Now we have a parental advisory sticker.
That's it.
But yeah, so that's, you thought I was going to say something like queer or something harmless, retard maybe. See, that's another one, right?
Dude,
retard.
Isn't that so funny,
We've
by
said
the way?
retard so many times, and retard is still like it's still used in many different contexts. So anyways, that's my take on the whole issue. And I'm with Stephicus. She's a youngin too. She and Megabit. You know, they're youngins, and she's still out here saying Oriental. So that goes to show that Oriental
Do you think it's regional?
was still cool way back when. So yeah, I don't know. I think like a lot of things. I'm in the South, so we can just say whatever we want. I went on vacation to. I'm not really in the South. I'm on like right on the Mason-Dixon, but we went down to Tennessee not too long ago for my wife's birthday.
You what?
And we went down there, and there was a guy in the pool, and he was just N-word.
Seriously?
And, yeah, it was just like, and nobody questioned it, and I was like.
Was he like wow. rapper type? Like,
no, it was a white guy. Was he?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like
American.
Let's say like a Jamie Kennedy or like
no,
you know what I mean?
Just like he was actually like a fat white guy, just like he was basically me without a beard, right? And he was like balding, right? So he was like very like you'd look at him and you'd be like, okay, well that's a racist guy, right? He was over there saying
that's
racist words, and he's clearly a racist just by looking at him. But he was just saying it, and nobody questioned it, and like we from our apparently we're like too Yankee for the South, but too Dixon for too Dixie for the North.
Oh,
you know, like we're right at that line. So like we get there and we're the only ones that are like kind of looking like, did he really?
What
just,
the F?
Did he really just drop? Did he just sing the song "My Nigga" by DMX? Like, did he just? Is that what's going on over here?
Oh yeah.
And then I realized I'm like, well, we're in Tennessee, right? So I'm like, we're in the mountains, and that's how these. That's how you people speak, right? You know, and so.
What you mean, you people?
It is a regional thing, I think. So I don't know.
Right.
Meanwhile, I'm just like a hateful person who's just like I just say whatever I want, and to hell with. I'm old enough to where people are like. I think I told you this story recently where I was talking to my sons about. I don't know, maybe freedom of speech or something. And I said, all these words that we say, like we would rather you not use or that you're not allowed to use, certainly around your mother, right? All these words that I tell you you're not allowed to use, I'm not trying to stifle your free speech, right? Because you are entitled to the right to say whatever you want. Within, you can't run around, like the rule is like you can't basically threaten somebody, you can't yell fire, you can't create a riot. Right. Like I gotta explain to them the situations in which free speech is limited, right? But
sure, I
said you can call anybody whatever you want, and they can't. I mean, they can fight you about it, but then all of a sudden they're the one that's actually committing a crime. But I said that doesn't mean that you can run around calling people faggots and niggers all the time. And my middle son,
that's fair.
He's like he's kind of like very funny kid, but he's like easily shocked by certain stuff like that. So he's the one who like turns, he does this whole and he looks at me and he goes, well, obviously, right? And it was like a sitcom moment where all of a sudden the camera or the canned audience laughter starts or whatever. But that's like the sort of, that's my parenting in a nutshell, is like I'll say, but that's how I taught them, hey, you're allowed to say those things. I would just rather you don't, because it creates a situation. My youngest son and I were watching one of those audit the police videos tonight.
Audit the auditor?
Yeah, those things. And I said, listen, or he said, oh, he just cussed at that cop. And I said, yeah, you're allowed to. And he's like, really? And I had to explain to him, like, you're absolutely allowed to say whatever you want to a police officer. You can call them any name in the book. You can't threaten them, and there are certain lines that you can't cross, because once you cross it, they'll turn that into something else. But I said, you're absolutely allowed to call them any name under the sun. You could literally flip off a police officer and tell him to fuck off. You could.
That's true.
You're absolutely entitled to that.
Not a very good idea, but it's true.
Yeah, and then I said, but they will escalate it, and then it'll become a problem. You're still within your rights, but it'll make the whole conversation or confrontation more stressful than it has to be for everybody, right? So I was explaining that to him. I'm like, well, you're allowed to, but I wouldn't recommend it. Right? In the same way, I'm like, you can't run around calling people these names. You could, but I wouldn't recommend it because we live, as Joker said, right? We live in a society, and you would never want to, get into that situation. I know I've kind of like stolen the mic forever, Jerry. Do you have anything to add to that?
I just wanted to say to everyone here, speaking of when things were okay to say and whatnot, right? Because again, if there's anything that we are, it's historically accurate in this program. I looked up, there is actually Oriental Avenue in the Monopoly game. And so literally in a game that I think everybody played, everybody absolutely accepted that Oriental Avenue was a location that was fine.
What you don't realize, and Mike makes a good point here, what you don't realize is that before the more politically correct version of Monopoly came out, it used to be called Chink Avenue. So.
And now it's called Monkeypox Asshole Lane.
Queerfaggot.com. The whole turn that they've done with Monopoly. I have that socialism Monopoly game. Have you ever seen that one, the Monopoly Socialism?
Oh, there's like socialism, and then
released. Yeah, it said.
And then there was like
winners.
All these different ones, right? It was like
they've done a ton of them. They did a limited run of the socialism one. It actually was selling. Like I bought it for $20, I think, when it was at Target, and then it was selling for like hundreds of dollars. I don't know what it's at now, but it still sits here on my shelf, just on display,
right next to your Bernie Sanders manifesto.
No, the manifesto's over here. Actually, I think I still have it with me, but it's over there by my video game, like right next to the TV. So like you can't watch the TV without seeing my Monopoly for Socialism. and if I had any friends who were socialists, who were legitimately socialists, and if I had anybody who came over, they would they'd look at it and be like, ooh, but they don't. So I don't have friends who certainly not friends who come over. So are we talking about monkeypox yet, or do we want to do the welcome and then do like the whole? Because I still have some jokes if we want to talk about jokes. We missed like 2 weeks, Jerry.
We did.
We have 2 weeks worth of stuff. Here's what I'll do. I'll spit out my jokes because my jokes are never that funny, but I'll get them out there, and then we can decide. Because I have one thing here that I know we're going to want to talk about, and then we have one thing that's going on in the news that we're going to want to talk about. That's monkeypox, right?
Right.
But and then we also have to do the whoopies. So, oh man, all these, actually we could turn all these into episodes. Goodness, we're in trouble here. All right, so good news. I passed my falconry test. I did want to brag on that a little bit. So I thank you all for your prayers and your well wishes.
I'm clapping my wings. I don't know if you noticed.
No, I did. I saw that, and I appreciate it, being here in spirit with me. Your spirit animal being a falcon. Yeah, 100,
I'm a ginger
100
soldier.
Questions. The ginger soldier. 100 questions, and I had to get 80 of them right, and I got 83. So very proud of myself. What I did was the night before, Jerry texted me the morning of, and he said, "Hey, good luck on your test today." And I said, "Hey, I appreciate that," but I was like half out of it. Like I had woken up super early, and the night before I didn't go to bed until like 3-4 o'clock in the morning because I was up studying. I had to read all the regulations again, had to read the study guide again, I had to read it all, and I didn't read all the books. I mean, like the stack of books is like, it's like yo big. It's just, all they do is they give you recommended reading, and you essentially have to memorize it all, right? And in order to know, there's not really like a class on like, hey, let's teach you for the falconry exam. It's, you have to learn about all the birds of prey, not just the birds of prey that you'll be working with specifically, but like all of them. You have to learn all avian illnesses and healthcare and whatever and all that shit. So that was the test that I took, and I marginally passed, right? The other thing was I did want to talk about this. This one's not funny. I had written I was gonna like complain. This is like one that I would have to set myself up for, but it's I said so I turned in this assignment, right, and I actually finally, this dude, my professor, he didn't grade any of my assignments for like weeks at a time, and I was almost like unsure if he still existed at this, or if like he had died and nobody had filled in for him, or if he was just not paying attention to the class. I had no response from him for weeks. And then finally the other day he says, "Hey, I'm back. I had all these things, these obligations going on with the church and blah, 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 blah. And not to mention I had COVID, which this is the dude that kicked me out of his class because I refused to wear a mask, which was a blessing because I got to go home and take the rest of my classes on Zoom but get campus credit. But he was the one who like made the biggest stink about it and kicked me out of his classroom for not wearing a mask. And now he, the vaccinated guy, probably double vax, double boosted, ended up getting COVID, and I still have not gotten COVID at all.
Okay, but Tom, wait a minute. Is he thankful that he was double vaxxed and double boosted because
you would think so.
His symptoms, you know what I mean?
You would think so, but he also used it as an excuse as to why he wasn't able to grade our homework, right? Which all he's doing is logging onto a computer and grading our homework. So finally he sent out a message on Monday saying all this, and then he said, however, he's like, I'll be grading your homework by Wednesday at 5 or whatever. And there were 2 big assignments that he was supposed to grade. He graded one of my assignments, and the absolute monster graded me at an 85% for a paper that I put in less than 85% effort on. I put like no effort in on this assignment, and he gave me an 85%, as if I was supposed to be upset. I don't know. And he like consoled me in the comments. He was just like, "Hey, listen," he's like, I would have liked to have seen more. He's like, overall, it was a pretty good paper. And in reality, it was not a pretty good paper. It was like a paper that I did not put a lot of effort into it because I don't care about this professor. I've had him before, like I said. And I have him now, and he just something about him pisses me off. He's like a big progressive kind of like liberal, whatever words you want to use to describe him. The other thing, did you see that Biden's clone is now acting on his behalf? Did you see that?
Biden's clone?
Yeah,
no.
They
what are we talking?
replaced him with his look-alike. Like, Biden. Like through the years, we've had multiple different Bidens. Like he's like the one president.
I see. Gotcha.
That we've had more versions of him.
Well, they all died pretty quick. Like the batteries are running out.
I don't know what's up with it, but this new one has brown eyes, whereas the regular one or the previous one had blue eyes. Very different. His eyes are closer together, like he's got like some form of Down syndrome, which the previous Joe Biden probably had a little bit of Down syndrome too, but just a little. But the new one, because remember he's like, "Oh, I've got COVID, but I'm still going to continue working," and then they're like, "Oh." They were like, "Oh, Joe Biden took the test. He's negative. He's back in action." But the Joe Biden that they presented us with has a different color eyes, and his face is structured differently, right? So it's like, all right, well, I mean,
dude, that's I hate to say.
Oh, yeah, and then Mike says he can't blink either, and that was the thing too. Doug Tennaple, the guy who made Earthworm Jim, he pointed that out too, and I said, well, it's those lizards and their nictitating membranes, like they don't have to blink, right? He didn't blink either. So there's something going on with this Joe Biden. I hate to be like the conspiracy tinfoil hat guy, but I'm going to be that guy. There's something going on with Joe Biden. This is like the 4th Joe Biden in my lifetime. You know what I mean?
And all of them sniff children.
And all
Isn't
of
that
them
weird?
Are
like you would think that would have been a feature they would have taken out after he got caught so many times. It
must be like a genetic thing. And like all these Joe Biden and then his brother Jim Biden and his brother Jerry Biden. Jerry? It's you.
What?
The other thing that I wanted to say, and maybe you can pick from these whether or not you want to use these. I got banned from... Well, you know what? I'll do that one later. Resident Evil the show. Do you want to hear my take on Resident Evil the show? Because I watched I watched the whole thing.
Oh,
Did
my
you watch
goodness.
it?
Okay. I watched people watching it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, then you probably got about the experience that I got. It was not good. And I'll say that I'll start off by saying that I encourage you not to watch it. And normally I wouldn't
actively
do that.
Not watch it.
Normally I would not do that because I would say, well, maybe my opinion is different than somebody else. I mean, I know I like some weird shit, and my friends and you guys on the show here, you guys don't like the same things that I like, and I would never say, hey, don't do something and don't experience it for yourself and have your own opinion, because I think that takes away from the American experience, right?
Right. But hold on, Tom, we have to be...
Yeah.
Listen, I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off, but
please.
have to call you out when we... Look, I know sometimes the things that we talk about off air are supposed to stay off air. But I think people need to know this little facade of like, oh, I would never tell you guys. Literally, Tom said to me, we haven't talked in person for a couple of weeks because, of course, last week I took off. and this is the first time we're talking, and he says, Jared, did you see the show? And I said, same thing, I saw if people see it. And he said, well, Jared, let me tell you, if you hadn't, I would have told you it's so bad. Not only do I recommend you don't see it, but I would recommend that you go watch Cuties instead.
I would never.
That's what he said.
For watching
Cuties. Said and the thing is, we're on Skype, but you can. Tom has one of those screens that he could put his finger and make screen, and he's double underlined it in the closed captioning. He said, "Watch Cuties instead," and he double underlined it.
There's a lot of issues. There's a lot of issues here with your live. I don't even know why. We don't do FaceTime ever. Second of all, FaceTime does not come with closed caption. Third, probably most importantly, I would never encourage watching Cuties. I have not watched Cuties, and I'll watch some. No. I'll watch some abominated, some abominable shit. Right, I will for the sake of like a laugh or whatever. But so that I can shit on it. Right, like Stephen King. I'll read Stephen King books so that I can shit on Stephen King books. Because if you say, well, Stephen King sucks, and they're like, well, what books have you read? And I'll be like, oh my gosh, Joyland, Pet Cemetery, Shining, It. I'll go through them all. What was the other? 11, 22, 63. I've read them all. I've read a bunch of them, right?
I read a sequel to that, by the way. Did you know there was one? It was ASL 69.
I did not read that one. But if it's anything like Stephen King's other books, it probably had a lot of gay sex and pedophilia, right?
Yeah, it ends the same.
Which is the thing that's true.
Yes.
That is something that
horrifically
happens in every single Stephen King book. I challenge you to present me with a Stephen King book that there is no pedophilia in. And if it doesn't, I'm sure there might be. Well, I'm sure there's probably pedophilia in Cujo. I'll have to read it. And I'll have to find out for you. But even Dr. Sleep, there's a gay sex scene between the black uncle or the black grandpa and the kid or whatever. And he says, "Come on over here and jump on my stick" or whatever. I don't remember. Like Stephen King. That's the thing about Stephen King too, is he doesn't even know how people talk. So like when he creates characters or whatever, they don't talk the way that people do. That's why he almost and I hold Stephen King's wife accountable for a lot of this stuff, because if not for Stephen King's wife, we would not have a Stephen King, because Stephen King, when he was writing Carrie, he threw out the original draft, or like the original scene or whatever, original chapter, and his wife found it, and she's like, yeah, this isn't how teenage girls talk, but why don't I help you, and I'll tell you what they would say. Thing. And so she ended up like, it was in the
how old was he at the time?
Oh, he was living in like an apartment, and he was using the laundry room as his office to type up stories or whatever. Like
so
that's how
real
young
early,
Stephen King was. Still a piece of
shit. I'm
just
imagining like, I think it'd be totally great if the story was like, if Carrie he only wrote when he was like 40, like, could you imagine? He's like, so he's writing it and he throws it in the corner, and his wife finds it and he goes, well, Stephen, first of all, Stephen, why are you imagining all these teenagers doing things to each other? But Stephen, the biggest problem I have, other than your teenage fantasies, is that this is not how teenage girls think. I, as a 40-year-old woman in secluded Vermont or whatever, I have my finger on the pulse of these suburban, I don't know, whatever. Like that would be funny for me. If she was just like, look, as a 40-year-old go-go woman of the 80s,
she's no, Stephen King is like in his 70s, isn't he? Did you see him in the new It movie? The newest It movie? He's old as fuck. Like, he is so old.
He was the clown, right? No.
he was the dead guy. He was the skeleton that washed up on the beach, or in the Barrens. Here's the thing about Stephen King, and then we'll go to the last thing, which is, I think, I guess I still have to like bitch about Resident Evil, but I like the Stephen King movies,
right,
based on his books. And here's
the ones he hates specifically.
You shouldn't. You stole my thunder, but here's the reason why you can like the Stephen King movies and hate Stephen King, is because Stephen King hates the Stephen King movies, except for Maximum Overdrive, because he like insisted on directing his own movie or whatever, and it was not it was like widely panned, right? Everybody hated it.
What I've heard, if I remember correctly, like all the ones that are like B movie shitty, he's like, oh, they're amazing. Those are the best ones.
Not good
and
movies.
then it's like
the
critically acclaimed ones. Yeah, it's like the critically acclaimed, like the one where the car came alive. He's oh great, fucking awesome,
Christie, yeah,
or whatever. Yeah,
not
and then on the other hand, he's like Shawshank.
Yeah,
whatever.
That doesn't.
I mean, I don't know that.
You know why it doesn't? You know why it doesn't? He didn't like it because it didn't have enough gay sex between kids and adults. That's why he. That's why he doesn't like the movies, because he's like, that doesn't capture like what I wrote about. I wrote specifically that these two kids in it jerk each other off, right? I wrote specifically there is a sex scene where all of them gangbang the girl, right? The redheaded girl, right? You know, like he's like, I wrote.
Is that true?
Where are they? Yeah, it's in it. The book actually starts with that gay scene that's in the second movie. The gay
really?
guy. You know, there's like that gay couple at the carnival or whatever. It actually opens up. The book does. It opens up with that scene, except for like the gay guy is giving another guy a blowjob, right? He's giving him a blowjob in the tunnels of Derry, and then Pennywise gets him or whatever. So
wait, so Tom, are you saying there were two guys milking each other in the town of Derry? Tom, are you saying that gay scene started the book while he opened those 2 pages like a man's butthole?
I did. And every page I turned, I had to lick my finger, and it was as if I was licking my finger and then fingering another man's butthole as I turned the page.
Oh my
gosh. Exactly what it was, and then licking it once again. And that's how I ended up with monkeypox. So do we want to talk about monkeypox, Jerry? I guess I got to do my shot and welcome everybody to the show, and then.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, let's do that. So I'm gonna try something new. I'm not a tequila guy, but my wife got me. She went to the Tennessee Legend. It was a store in Pigeon Forge when we were down in Tennessee, and there was this
Tennessee
Agavesaurus Rex. It's 80 proof tequila.
Ooh. Well,
which means it's not very like alcoholic, but it's tequila. I'm not a tequila guy, but I just opened it before I opened the.
You should ask your wife to make you some mezcal.
My what?
Good. My wife. Your wife. Sorry.
I have mezcal. That's the one that I normally drink. Is the Silencio.
Oh, okay.
I love it. I think it's amazing. But
I'm not normally. Let me tell you something, man. I went to a party one time, and they were like, "Oh, dude, you want to try some mezcal?" And I was like, I mean.
What is that? Is that like acid? Is that acid?
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. Is that Mexican acid? What are we talking about? And they, oh no, it's like tequila. It's in our punch. I'm like, oh, I've had tequila. Fine, dude. I mean, it was a fun ride or whatever, but wow, that was not the same as tequila.
I love mezcal. I love the. It's called El Silencio, and the first time I tried it, it was a little much. Like it tasted. I joked that it tasted like eating a leather shoe or whatever. And but after that, it became like it's one that I can sip. I can sit there and sip on the rocks, like I can sip.
Wow,
it's so good. It's very good. It's got a leathery kind of taste, but it's like it grows on you like a smoky kind of leathery taste. I'm not an alcohol. I'm not like I drink a lot of alcohol on the show, but that's about it. That's like the only place I drink alcohol is on the show. I've got just like a ton of booze in my bar, but I don't ever drink except for on the show. So I'm not by any means a good critic. I can tell you like the ones that I like, but I can't tell you why I like them or whatever. But my wife almost bought me a $600 bottle of Lafroig as a graduation present.
Wow.
And, oh man, I would have loved it. But it was like, I think it was like 25 years old, and that's why it was the expensive one. But I love Lafroig, and nobody else loves Lafroig. Like you have to like, it's certainly a, it is a different flavor, and I encourage anybody to drink it. I still have Malloy's or whatever saved in my phone. I everywhere I go, when I go to a liquor store, I look for it. Nobody ever has it. So, but yeah, Lafroig. If you ever happen upon Lafroig, it's a Scotch whiskey. It's really, I like it, but it's a taste that when you first taste it, you're like, what the fuck is this? Why did you make me drink this? What is this? It's awful, right? But then like after you take a second sip, you're like, okay, well, all right, yeah. I enjoy it. It's a very distinct flavor, and I only started drinking it because of the marketing campaign, right? Like they tricked me. They did a thing where they like, it was people listing off what their experience with Lafroig was, and it was like people typing really funny reviews of like, oh, it's like lip kissing an octopus while getting kicked in the face with a boot or something. Like somebody else is like, oh, it's like eating a purse your grandma's leather purse while on fire. You know, like it was just like all these people leaving random funny reviews, and I'm like, well, now I gotta try it because that sounds weird. And like, yeah, it's $60 for a bottle of scotch, whatever. And I buy it, and I tried it, and I was like, wow, that is really like lip kissing an octopus or getting kicked in the face by your grandma's purse, right? Like it is those things, you know. And I thought, huh, all right. And then I became a fan, so then I've been trying all the different Lefroy's. They've got like the quarter cask. They've got the 10-year, 18-year-old year. I think they've stopped manufacturing the 18 and on years. But anyways, so what are we cheersing to? The season 2 of Resident Evil, the show.
Yes, the season 2.
All right.
Resident Evil Monkeypox edition.
It's not terrible.
No. Okay.
I can feel it coming up through my nose again.
I mean, you are still here.
That's pretty good. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and give my stamp of approval for this Tennessee legend Agavesaurus Rex small batch tequila. Pretty
nice. Good. Okay.
I'm not, like I said, I'm not a tequila guy, and normally, like, you've got all those college co-eds who like have to like what is it, like lick their hand, the salt off their hand, and then drink and then eat the lime or whatever. I just took a swig of it, just plain or whatever. But also I'm an alcoholic, so all right, let's do the welcome. Mike in Manitoba, Mike in Manitoba, he's been on it. Like I think he's just like, he's like that guy at the starting line or whatever, ready to go, and he waits until all of a sudden it has the notification. He's probably got notifications on his wife's phone too, so that she can be like, "Honey, they're starting," so that he can be the first one in, because I think this is 2 times in a row that Mike has been the first. J-Coob, J-Dubs, Megabit, Stephicus, who I ask that you go easy on Megabit because of our starting at the beginning of the show talking about the slow girl on the OnlyFans. Efren Flores, Don Trout, Mostly Wave, Patrick Howard, Critter Me Timbers, and Amanda's in there somewhere. If I missed anybody, I apologize. I think I got you all. I've been trying to keep up. But my opinion on Resident Evil, the show, is this. I watched it with my 8-year-old son, okay? And he liked it. Because he doesn't know any better. Like, he doesn't know if a show is bad or not. I mean, he watches the Thundermans on Nickelodeon, right? So, and like, I've watched the show, and it's just terrible. It's kind of like iCarly, which is like a little funny, but at the same time, it's not a cinematic masterpiece by any means. And he enjoyed the parts of the show that were kind of like colorful, and there were monsters, of which there were few, right?
Right.
This is a show called Resident Evil, right? And it's based... I feel like Kamala Harris. She, her, and I am here in a green sweater vest, just describing shit that like is obvious.
There are women having babies, they're getting pregnant in this country. This is crucial. And that's
a problem. That's a problem.
It's a problem.
But no, that her meeting recently where she's like, I am Vice President Kamala Harris. My pronouns are she, her, and I am wearing a blue jacket. That was her literal opening statement to these people. Anyways.
And they were like, "Ma'am, this is a Wendy's."
Yeah, like what are you doing here? Well, I asked if you'd like to try our supersized Dave burger. But so this is a show called Resident Evil, based on what was historically a video game about zombies that were infected by a virus from this company called Umbrella, right? It like supplied like military type shit. I mean, it's like very like basic kind of like, okay, well, this is goofy fun. Like, let's go chase these zombies who were infected by careless government. Like the timeless Return of the Living Dead Part 2, which in itself is kind of like an anomaly because it's like, okay, it's the return again? Like, is that what we're talking about? Return of the Living Dead Part 2, the government, it's just a bunch of goofy privates who knock over a barrel of toxic waste with a person in it, and then that person is a zombie, and he escapes and ends up infecting the whole town. Which there is some truth to that. You don't have to suspend reality, because I can tell you as a former private in the U.S. Army, like, that's exactly how it goes. Like, we'd sit there and smoke and be like, did you strap the load down? I think so. All right, let's roll out. Like, instead of checking, we're just like, let's go. Like, all of that is true, right? So that's all you had to do for a zombie show, right? There's not been a show about zombie or about Resident Evil. I think there's been some animes and some like CGI shit, but for a show on Netflix, all you had to do was make a zombie show. That's it. The game was about zombies. That's all you have to do.
Yeah.
Umbrella is a company that's a little shady that works with the government, and they accidentally release this virus. The virus turns people into zombies. Instead, and this is how I described it to V, and again, I bring up V like the jealous ex-girlfriend who's like, I've always got to bring him up as if you're not in the room with me.
I am already tuning
well,
out.
I'm sorry. But he was so good to me, right? No, he but I was telling him, I said, it's not like they turned Resident Evil woke, right? Which is the thing. Like, you know, you see all these things, the Disney movies, and all this stuff. They're not turning Star Wars
By the way,
woke, right?
You do know that in the they've just released a novel, or they're about to, where they insinuate that Obi-Wan Kenobi's bisexual.
Oh my lord, is that real? Like, or is that like part of the canon, or is that part of the legends?
I don't know which, but it is a novel coming out, and they insinuate during his Padawan, because it's always about selling it to children from these fucking predators. Sorry, excuse me, groomers. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can't call them. You got I don't know what you call them anymore. Perverts is what I call them.
I don't know. You get in trouble for saying.
You can't say anything.
I don't have
anymore.
Twitter.
You can't identify them.
Right.
But I told him, I said, it's not like when they take Star Wars and they make Star Wars woke, which is what they've done. We've seen that time and time again. We've seen they've taken Star Wars and turned it woke. Instead, and it says you would think like, okay, well maybe they're taking Resident Evil and they're making it woke. No. They made woke Resident Evil. It's like the opposite, right? They did this total. Mm-hmm. It's just it's the worst thing I've ever seen in my life, and I feel so bad saying that because my son and I, it was like a fun bonding experience. Every night we would sit down, we'd watch 2 episodes of Resident Evil, and there were 8 of them. And every night we'd sit down, we'd watch Resident Evil, and it was just our time that we had together. And we would like, oh, I wonder what's gonna happen to Billy, and it was just fun. It was just goofy fun. But it was like, if they would have just made it woke, that would have been one thing. Because Albert Wesker is traditionally, in the video games, he's a white guy, right? They made him black.
Yes,
okay.
They did.
All right. But then he gave him daughters, 2 daughters, one of whom is black. The other of whom, which, okay, now here's the story, right? They were it was like 2 donors' eggs, and then they were both fertilized at the same time. And so they're technically twins, but they're different colors, right? So you've got a black girl as one of the daughters, and do you think the other one's a white girl? No. It's another woman of color. It's a chick who's from, like, she's a Filipina chick, right? Mm-hmm. And so not only do we have a black guy replacing a white guy, you have his black daughter, and then her twin is not a white woman, right? Which would make sense, right? Because you're like, well, statistically, right? There'd be a white girl.
Yeah.
No, it's a Filipina girl from Hawaii, right? And so you've got that. Okay, well, let's move beyond that. The CEO of Umbrella, when it started, was a man. Who takes it over for the purpose of the show? His daughter, a woman. Who, okay.
And can I ask what their persuasion was?
The girl, okay. So the girls, I don't know.
Okay.
One of the girls is straight, like, because she like is
no.
I'm
sorry.
I know where you're going. I know where you're going with this.
Oh, okay.
One of the daughters is straight. The other one is ambiguous. Like it's never brought up. Like she's like repulsed by this guy that her sister is dating or whatever. But the CEO of Umbrella is a gay woman because she's married to another woman who, of course, the CEO. She is, I don't know. Maybe she's like Syrian, like she's like some sort of white, but like also probably like maybe from the northern part of the Middle East. So
okay, see, that's where I was going with it, because when you're ever going to have one of these shows now, if there's going to be a white person, either they're evil or it's going to be the reverse of a black guy in a horror flick and they die first.
Yeah,
it's either one.
So she's she's the villain. She's white, but she's also maybe Syrian. But there's like, I'll leave it open for you. But then her wife is white, and then the daughter. But they're like British.
Oh, that was her crime. Was that her crime?
Was that she's gay? Is that
that her wife was white?
Well, probably, and that's why. Yeah, but anyways, it's all nonsense, and like, not only is Wesker a white guy replaced by a black guy, but there are multiple Weskers. And they're all black,
Yes.
right? They're all black clones of the original Black Weskers. So it's like they're really rubbing it in your face, like, hey, what you grew up with. Because I grew up with Resident Evil, right? I was a kid when Resident Evil came out, and I loved it. I played
Didn't
it.
they
I played
make
all
movies
of them.
of that?
Right? They did. They made a whole series of movies with Mia Jovovich.
And in the timeline, it falls in the timeline where like all of what they're doing doesn't make sense or so. Because I don't remember watching those very.
Listen, the Resident Evil movie franchise in itself is a wild, wild mess. So don't even mess with it. The only one that's even like remotely close to the game would be Welcome to Raccoon City, the movie that recently came out. But because not only did they like just kind of like push away the old Resident Evil movie series with Mia Jovovich, but then they recreated the thing Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City, which was. I mean, it had the same characters from the game, at least. We had Leon, we had Chris Redfield, we had Claire Redfield, we had, like, the zombie outbreak was kind of, like, at least somewhat similar to the, with the umbrella, the Raccoon City. Like, it's all there, at least. They may have taken some artistic spins with it, but it was a fun little, goofy little zombie movie where you're like, I had fun, whatever. I went and saw it in the theater, as a matter of fact. But... and it had some of the same zombies, like the Lickers and all that shit, and all the weird, like the Nemesis, and, it had all this stuff. But this TV show, it's almost like they said, we're going to assume that you never played any of the games, and we're going to make a show about that, make an 8-episode show about that. And we're going to create our own agenda, and we're going to do all this shit with it. Just to, like, turn you off of the franchise. It's like, this is not... It kind of goes into that whole Taika Waititi, or whatever his name is, who, like, just ruins everything that he touches.
Dude, I saw Thor.
I haven't watched it. Don't spoil it for me, because
I'm not going
to...
Wait. First, I want to say the point I was going to make with the movie and show lining is that apparently this show, and I don't know the whole, but canonically or whatever...
it has nothing to do with anything. It's its own entity.
But what I heard is that timing-wise, because of the era that it's in, let's say the 90s or wherever they say the show is, like, what time frame? I know it jumps back and forth between different times, but the main time, it overlaps with, let's say, for example, movies 4 and 5. I don't remember. I don't care that much. I was just listening to someone talking about it, and apparently, what's so funny is if they were going to all be like, how they'll say, like, oh, here's how you watch all the Marvel movies and TV shows in a row. Like, you'll see those articles. If you were to do that, everybody essentially just becomes black or whatever. So it's like, oh, here's all these characters. All right, they're all black. But now they're white again, though. But that's the other thing. It's like, because it's in between, let's say, 4 and 5, and the guy lives between 4 and 5, so he's white, black, white. You just watch. It's kind of funny.
He doesn't, though, is the thing. There's so many plot holes in this, right? Like, and if they coexist, I can't imagine that's the case, because, like, the thing happens, right? Resident Evil 1 happens in the original movie. It happens, and the zombies are like, it happens, right? It happens in episode 1, right? So to say that the events of the show happened in 4 and 5 would be, it couldn't be anything other than between 0 and 1, right? Because the zombie outbreak happens in the first Resident Evil movie, right? So, which is funny in itself. If you watch the Resident Evil movie, there's like a newspaper, it pans the city where, like, all the shit is, like, destroyed because zombies have attacked or whatever. You look at, like, one of the newspaper stands, which is, again, some people might not know what a newspaper stand is, because it's like it's a dated thing, right? But there's, like, a newspaper stand, and there's a newspaper in it that says "The Dead Walk," right? And you're like, you might see that, and you might, as just like a casual popcorn moviegoer or whatever who's not thinking for themselves, you might just, like, see that and be like, oh, well, yeah, the fucking Dead Walk, right? Like, you can see that, okay, yeah, I get it. But then, like, the rest of us are like, who was the editor of that newspaper? Like, in the midst of this zombie apocalypse, was all of a sudden like, print this on page 1. We need to still push out a newspaper because people are still going to buy it. Like, who is that guy who's not like, I need to go home and get my family and get the fuck out of Dodge, right?
Dude,
instead,
that was
he's like, we
the
need
beginning...
to go ahead and publish this immediately.
Dude, that's the same guy who was in the middle of Batman v Superman, or not in the middle, in the beginning. If everybody watched Batman v Superman, there's that point where everybody goes, "Oh, that was when it was like cool Batman Affleck, right?" Because he gets out of his car and then runs into the smoke, and he runs, and you go, well, yes, but did you also notice when he was driving, he was calling and talking to like his chief financial officer, I don't know who, whatever. And the guy's like, don't worry, boss, we're not leaving until you tell us. And it's like, the building's crumbling. What? Like, why are you still in the building? What's wrong with you? Leave? I can't. Do you still want a job? Because like you're not proving your level of commitment right now is like retarded.
Yeah.
So if you could just get everybody out so I don't have to pay out all these life insurance policies, that'd be wonderful. And we could talk about, putting things back together after. And he's like, oh no, Bruce, I just want to say it was a pleasure working for and you're like, why did you not just leave and make that call?
Yeah.
What? Made no sense.
I'll tell you what, my commitment to any job or any obligation is like contingent on like how my family is doing, right? So like,
right.
When I was here's
dude,
an
how
example.
about contingent on how solid the literal floor I'm standing on is?
Yeah, so that's exactly what I'm saying. Where I'm going with this is I was coming back from the VA one time, and I had an appointment or something, and I was driving, and there was a tornado coming through, right?
Oh my goodness.
And I knew that there was a tornado coming through. Yeah, it was all over the radio, like it was beeping at me, and this was before I had Sirius XM. I was in my truck, and it was like a few years ago, right? And
this
so
is
I'm
before all
back.
that.
No, this
bus
is
rate.
after. Yeah, this is after that. But this is my truck. It didn't come equipped with Sirius XM because we got like the base model. I can't afford a full good model of truck, Silverado. But no, I'm hearing all these beeping. I'm hearing my phone's buzzing, my everything, and I'm seeing it like I'm in the midst of this tornado weather. Not a tornado itself, but I'm like on the highway and I'm heading towards the exit on this interstate that I'm on, and my wife, she calls me and she's like, where are you at? And I said, oh, I'm getting off on the exit, but I'm still like 10 miles away from the exit. But I'm like, just be down in the basement, get the boys down in the basement. I was like, I'll be there. I'm getting off on the exit right now. So then she calls me about less than 10 minutes later, and I'm literally at this point getting off on the exit. And she's like, where are you at? Which I should have been home by then, right? If I was on the exit. I said, I'm in town now, whatever. And as I get into town, the tornado is ripping through right in front of, like literally in front of me.
Wow.
And I stop at the stoplight, not because like it's red or whatever, but because like I physically cannot go further because there's a tornado in front of me, right? But I'm stuck there. Somebody's their truck is doing this skidding motion off the road into the median or whatever.
Oh,
I'm
man.
backed up. As soon as the wind, because I grew up in tornadoes, right? I grew up in Wisconsin, so it's still part of that tornado alley. And it's like, I know where I'm able to go, and I'm feeling the pull of it, right? But I'm like, I'm not in that pull yet. Finally, it passes enough. I get around, and I'm able to turn off and head down the road. The rain is beating on the windshield. I can barely see shit because it's tornado rain or whatever, which is a little bit harder than regular rain. So I can barely see shit or anything. Finally, she calls me. I'm like pulling up into the neighborhood, and at this point, the rain has kind of stopped. And I'm like, "Hey, I made it. I'm in." And I'm like, "You guys are okay?" As I wasn't gonna stop until I knew you guys were okay, but I knew she was okay because she had me on the phone or whatever while the tornado. I wasn't telling her that the tornado was right, like whipping through right in front of me or whatever, because she would have been, like, "What are you doing?"
Freaking out.
But yeah, like I'm that mindset where I'm like, as soon as the danger is past, I'm gonna like, as soon as I can get out, no matter what the situation, as soon as I can get to my family, the better. And that's the situation that, like, I think if you're not in that position, then you should just go ahead and give your family up to somebody who actually cares, right? Because like that's your job as a man, is to like,
that is your job. Yeah.
If you're the man, if you're the head of your household, it's your job to ensure the safety of your family. So you get back to your family. You don't sit around and wait for Bruce Wayne to tell you that you can go home because you're his banker, right? Like, you gotta get home, man. But,
I do have to ask you this though. I'm imagining. I don't know for sure, but I'm imagining most of us here on the show, in hearing that story, frankly, feel like you left a big portion out. Probably the most important part. I mean, did they charge you like an absentee fee for not going to the appointment, or
I was already done with the appointment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
I thought you were on the way.
No.
You had this harrowing experience, and you had to turn around, and then the VA still charged you for the.
No, here's the thing about the VA and socialized medicine is like it's so bad that even when you miss the appointment, they're like, "Hey, don't even trip," because it was gonna suck anyways if you showed up, right?
We also don't have the staff to charge you. So.
Yeah, everybody went home because of the tornado, and I'm like, well, good.
Right.
No, but it was like an hour. Like the VA is about like 45 minutes to an hour away. But no, I had gone. It was probably for nothing important. It was probably just for some bullshit like checkup or whatever. Mike says she knows now. But here's the thing. My wife does not watch this show. She fucking hates that we still do this show. She's like,
oh no,
she doesn't want anything to do with it. She's like, I won't watch it. I won't listen to it. I won't nothing. She's like, I don't want anything to do with it.
Oh no, but she could, I mean, I know we don't really know each other, but
she knows enough about you because I speak about you, but she's
no wonder she doesn't watch the show. She's like, no.
She's not ever watched the show is the thing. Like her.
Oh, is that right?
No, she knows of the show based on what I tell her and what others may tell her, but.
So what you're telling me is that she didn't like V more, is what you're saying? There wasn't.
No, she doesn't like V at all. No.
I'm trying to play up the jealous thing.
No, she doesn't like V at all. Don't even try.
Really? Oh
no.
My gosh.
No, she likes V well enough. I mean, he showed up he came for the he's been my friend since like before she and I were married actually. So, she kind of like was adopted by V as well. But yeah, right. No, she was he was actually, here's a funny story about V. Not to talk about my ex-girlfriend like this, but he was he was the only person I think who came to my 21st birthday party. She threw a birthday party for me when I turned 21. Mm-hmm. I had just gotten to Fort Riley, and I'd been there for maybe a month or two. And she threw me a birthday party, and we had like an ice cream cake from Dairy Queen or whatever. We were very poor, right? I was a specialist in the Army. We didn't make
Excuse me, those are pretty good.
So. Well, that's what I'm saying. But it's not very expensive.
I don't.
But she got me one with the Juggernaut on it because that was like at the time. Remember those Juggernaut videos where he's like, "Oh, I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!" Right?
Yeah,
we were always laughing about that. So she got a cake, an ice cream cake from Dairy Queen with Juggernaut on it. And V was the only one of my friends who showed up because I didn't really have any other friends there at Fort Riley. So she's known V for as long as I have known V, basically. So, but no, and he showed up for the whole insurrection thing that we did. We got involved in that. We're still wanted men. So, she saw him recently, and she was, I don't know. She's always been relatively fond of V, in as much as she's fond of any of my friends. So,
right.
But yeah, that's my opinion of Resident Evil. Don't watch it. It's everything that you've seen about how awful it is. Believe it, because it really is awful. When you look at the the tomato score,
you literally
it's like
said. You literally said go watch Cuties instead. I mean, it's just I don't know how much.
That should be an indicator of how awful it is. It's a show about zombies, right? You watch the show Walking Dead, and you're like, there's hardly any zombies at all, right? Like we laugh about that, like the real monster is man, right? It's like the whole motif. Right. So you see that, and you're like, well, there's not really that. Zombies are kind of like an afterthought for that show, Walking Dead. But the show Resident Evil, zombies aren't even a thought at all. Like I can count on one hand how many times you experience zombies in the show Resident Evil, which is a show based off of a movie that is loosely based off of a game that used to be based off of zombies, right? So and they don't even call them zombies; they call them zeros, which fucking is ridiculous. Go ahead, Jerry.
Tom, here's the thing, though. We have to be very forgiving when they're spending like I don't know, $300 million on a Stranger Things. You don't really have the budget to come in with some zombies, so you just kind of act like they don't exist, right? I mean, that's what.
You know what I would do, Jerry? If I was making a movie, they blew their entire budget on one scene where they had like 3,000 zombies or whatever. In
the gay kiss?
Was there a gay kiss? There was briefly a gay kiss. No, you know what's funny is I stole a copy of Lightyear. And I was going to because I know like my kids they like show movies or whatever, and I didn't feel like it was fair to like not let them watch Lightyear. I knew it was fair to not let them watch Lightyear. No, hold on. I knew it was fair to not let them watch Lightyear because of the gay kiss, But I was like, you know what? There's probably something that they would enjoy about the movie, and from what I understand, it's only one gay kiss. Only one gay kiss,
So
right?
you showed them the scissoring part.
No. What I
Oh,
did was I stole the movie, and then I went to move it to edit it myself because I was going to edit out
wow.
the gay kiss because I'm like, I love
Oh,
my sons and I want them to be
right.
able to enjoy Lightyear because I know their friends are going to be talking about, oh, I saw fucking saw Lightyear or whatever, you know. And
Mm.
I didn't want them to be like, well, I don't know what it's like because my dad doesn't let me watch shit that has from Disney that has gay agenda in it, you know. And I didn't
Yeah,
want them
yeah.
to have. I never want them to be that family that is like, well, I'm not allowed to watch such and such because of the gay agenda, right? Like, and everybody else is talking about it, and they're like, well, I don't know what that's like because I'm not allowed to watch that. So instead, I
Yeah.
stole it, and then I was going to clip out that scene. The people that I stole it from actually had already clipped out that scene. So
Whoa.
yeah, they beat me to it. So anyways, it's not
Wow.
there. I had to watch Lightyear though to make sure that it wasn't in there. But it's
Right.
literally, and it's so funny because it's literally like you could have done the whole movie without it and it would have been nothing. It didn't
Yeah.
change the movie at all. The kiss literally happens during like a fast forward scene where it's like it's
Right.
showing Buzz Lightyear going through the years or whatever. And like he comes home, sees his neighbor chick or whatever, his commanding officer, and he goes into his room, comes home, sees his neighbor chick, goes into his room, comes home, sees his neighbor chick, she kisses her wife and the baby's there or whatever, and then he goes into his room, comes home, sees his elderly neighbor or whatever, because he's like going faster through time than they are.
Uh-huh.
Or I'm sorry, they're going at regular time, but he's going light year time, so he's like
Okay.
staying young and they're getting older. But it's literally like
Right.
boom, it's like that. You wouldn't
Well,
even
that's like in
notice it,
Star Wars where they
right?
had the lesbian kiss, and it was
I don't
they
even
were
remember that.
celebrating
Oh,
at
in the
the end of
background,
Rise of
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Skywalker, and like in the background, kind of blurry, were just two chicks.
Yeah. So it's
You
like,
know.
is that really a win for the LGBT community? And that's my question I pose to you, viewers, right? You know, no, like, is it really a win when like it's in the background, blurred out, you can't really see it, but like people are like, hey, there's a gay kiss there, right? You know,
Tom.
or is it a win when it's like, okay, well, there's a gay kiss in Buzz Lightyear, and I think you guys need to get over it. But in reality, it's like it literally just happens just like that in a fast forward scene that most people probably are looking down at their phones because they're like, well, this is a part that I don't need to pay attention to, right? It's a part that
Hmm.
I would have probably missed, honestly,
If
as
you
I was
didn't
watching
know,
through it,
you had to pay
because I
attention.
saw it was about to happen. Like they kind of like walk towards each other, and that's when it cut out. And I'm like, was that it? Was that what was going to happen? Like I would have missed
Hmm.
that if I wouldn't. I would have probably been, I don't know, maybe eating popcorn or whatever. But they made
Sure.
such a big deal about it. Like, hey Disney fans, hey Pixar fans, we have a gay kiss in our movie, and if you don't like it, you're a fucking dinosaur, and you're gonna die off like the dinosaurs. Fuck you, right? You know, if you would have just not said anything about it, I wouldn't have ever seen it. My kids we would have bought tickets for Lightyear because that's
Yeah.
just, I mean, we
Sure.
go to see movies because my kids are like, hey, I want to see Buzz Lightyear. I like Toy Story. We would have gone and seen it. But instead, you were
Yeah.
like, hey, you motherfuckers, you bigots, you fucking dinosaurs. Guess what? We have two girls kissing in this movie, so you can go fuck yourselves. In your face, you fucking homos, right?
Yeah.
You know, like that's
it's
what they
totally
did.
not weird that we just keep doing this
Right.
in movies for children.
And
Not
like,
at all weird.
if they wouldn't have said anything, I would have gone and seen it, and I probably wouldn't have even seen the thing. I would have been like, "There was a gay kiss scene," right? Because it was like I'm saying, it happened so quickly that
Right.
in a part that nobody was paying attention to. And even if my kids would have caught it, they would have seen it, and they would have been like, maybe wouldn't have even noticed because like the other one's kind of a butchy lesbian. Right, like they might have thought that it was just like a really feminine guy, right? You know, like
Which
just,
I mean, really.
you know, so it's like, what is the point you're trying to? If you want LGBT representation in movies, just do it and don't tell anybody.
Well, Tom, I'll
Don't
tell
make a
you.
big stink about it. I don't know.
Tom, as our resident expert on all things
LGBT, yeah.
LGBT and minority related in film, I want to tell you that this has worked out for them just as well as putting John Boyega on the poster for China.
Yeah, in a little bitty mini tiny picture.
No, they erased him.
Oh, they
completely.
completely erased him. I thought he was mini
Yeah, they
tiny.
completely removed him. Yeah,
Well, it's
they
because
did.
he's a what, Jerry?
Just a fine actor
Just
with
a guy,
a range of
regular old dude.
emotions.
Regular old fella.
He's just a I don't know. He has he. I
Name
heard
another
he.
movie that John Boyega's in, Jerry.
Wait.
Come on.
No, I have to know, right?
You would think so, right?
You would think.
You were just singing his praises just a minute ago. You couldn't get his dick out of your mouth long enough.
Well, it's funny you mentioned it. No, it was an OnlyFans I saw with
with Protect the Innocent.
He was Protect the Innocent, and he was wearing a mask, but I knew it was him because he has this yell that he does. It's
because
supposed to.
He was still dressed in his Star Wars getup.
He literally was using Chewie's crossbow.
He was using a lightsaber that looked, or like a dildo that looked like a lightsaber.
Right, exactly. Yep, that was him. Good old John Boyega. Boyega.
He was probably. You probably could have guessed like the movie Detroit, and you probably could have been right. It was like all the black people were in that movie, right? J-Dubs is saying "Attack the Block" in the chat, and I don't know if that's true. I assume Pacific Rim 2.
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe
there's not that
Ghost
many black actors in Hollywood. You got to kind of like dig deep for them.
He was in Attack the Block. That's true.
See, J-Dubs, you can't go when J-Dubs says something. I assume it's the truth because he so rarely speaks on things that like when he says something, I'm like, well, it must be true because J-Dubs said it because. He does never open his mouth when he doesn't lie. He's not like like we are, where we'll lie just for the sake of pushing.
I've never lied a damn out.
That is not true. You just lied just now. We lie just to push an agenda, Jerry. We do. Not on the show, of course, but we'll do it elsewhere, right? And not to our wives, but just in general. We'll do it.
Right.
So Jerry, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to. Do you have to take an intermission? Before we do the whoobies, because I have to take an intermission. Do you want to take an intermission? And then we'll do the whoobies and
why not? Let's do it.
All right, boys and girls, we'll do we're gonna do a brief intermission. We'll be right back with the whoobies. Yeah, I let him know that we were coming back too soon. All right, I fucked that up. So, my sons were baptized today. I don't know if I told you that. Did I tell you that?
No, you did not.
Yeah, my oldest two. They were baptized today. I baptized them actually. There's pictures of me baptizing my oldest two sons. My youngest wasn't ready, which is fine. I told him. I said, don't do it if you're not ready or whatever. But
yeah. How very eventful. That's awesome.
The older two, they were ready to go. My oldest son, he gets very emotional when, like, for big events like this. He was very emotional for it. My middle son, Dayton, he's just too cool. He's just like, like, what's up? He put his hat on sideways. Like, he's the Mexican kid, right? He takes that from his mother, right? But my oldest son, he's all emotional. Like me watching a horror movie, I'm like, oh, I can't do it. Yeah, they had brought it up, and my pastor, he's part of my mentored ministry program, and he told me, he said, hey, if your boys want to get baptized, they don't have to do it during services. That's fine. They can just do it like whenever. Just bring them in, and we'll go ahead and baptize them. And they have the baptistry and shit. So I called them this morning. And I said, hey man, I was like, do you mind if I bring the boys in? We get them baptized? And he said, nope, bring them in. So he taught me how to do a baptism. I'm like, I already knew how to do it, but I had never done one before. So he was just he's like, I'll walk you through it. He's like, we can do that. That'll be part of the whole mentored ministry thing. So I had a little learning experience where did the whole confession with my sons, and then did the baptism and all that. And I did, the person who's doing the person who's being baptized, they wear like the garments or whatever, so that you can like go in there, throw on the garments, and leave your clothes off to the side. And then you go back and you dry off and you change back into your clothes, and you're not like soaking wet or whatever. And then like the person who's doing the baptism, you wear like one of those fly fisherman outfits, right? Like the ones that come up here and it's got the straps and like whatever. And I've not ever done it before, so I don't know how like deep to go. And I like leaned too far forward, and some of the water went down. And it actually soaked. It left like a soaking line all the way down my chest and down my pants. And what's funny is it went down my pants in such a way that it looked like I peed my pants. And if I were to say I didn't pee my pants, people would be like, that is exactly what somebody who peed their pants would say. But it's also like exactly what somebody who peed their pants looks like when they pee their pants. So like there was no way. I was just hoping that nobody would question it, because it didn't even really like get my shirt too much, because the way I leaned over, it went straight down and hit my pants, right? So I spent the rest of the day until we got back home with peed pants or whatever. But yeah, no, it was a good day, and they were very excited to be baptized. I'm excited to be baptized. Now I just got to work on my youngest one and make sure that he stays on the. He's innocent still. He's too young to know. He's the baby, he doesn't know. He's not at that age of accountability. So yeah, we're not too worried about him. But the older two, they're very like, they're my middle son. We went to the horror convention this weekend, and we were trying to get Jason's autograph. The guy who played Jason, because I know we've talked about this before. The guy who plays, he gets all the autographs of the people who played Jason on his hockey mask that he wore for Halloween, right? And we made it for him for 1 year for Halloween or whatever. When he was like, gosh, he would have been like 5 or 6. And so since then, we've gone to all these horror conventions getting the different Jasons to sign it. And there was one who played Jason who he hadn't gotten yet from the new Friday the 13th, the newest one. And he wasn't there. By the time we got there on Sunday, when my wife was off work and I was able to like break away or whatever, we got up there, dude had already taken off, so it was too late. But we did get up there. We got to goof around. We got to see. So I talked to fucking Bill Moseley again. I talked to Bill Moseley. This is like a humble brag, right? Like at this point, I've met Bill Moseley a number of times, right? He's the guy who plays. And not a lot of people maybe know who Bill Moseley is. He was in House of a Thousand. He's in all the Rob Zombie movies, right? He was in House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects and Three from Hell. He played Otis, right? The dude. You know who I'm talking about? Yeah. So he played Otis, and he plays he's in like other stuff. Like he does a lot of horror movies, but he's like kind of like that's kind of his genre anyways. But yeah, I see him every time we go to these horror conventions, and I always stop and talk to him. He was in that movie, the fucking shitty one. I forget what it's called, where they brought like all the horror villains, like they all came together for this horror movie.
Really?
Yeah, it was supposed to be The Expendables, but for horror movies. I don't remember what it's called. It's like it had like all the horror villains. They played different characters. He was one of like the worst villains. It's like a prison of like the worst of the worst, and then like the worst of the worst of the worst were like these final 6, the bottom of this prison forever, like in solitary or whatever, chained up. He was one of them. Anyways, but I talk to him about these things every time I see him. I'm like, I always stop, because there's always like. There will be periods where there's like a huge line that's talking to him, but then there will be periods where there's nothing going on, so I'll go up and talk to him or whatever. And so this time we stopped, and he was talking to somebody, and I think it was Sterling, he stopped and he was looking at pictures, and he said, oh, he's from House of the He said, yeah, he's the guy that turned the guy into a fish boy. and then all of a sudden Bill Moseley turns around, he's like, yeah, fish boy, right? And then he started talking to Sterling about House of a Thousand Corpses. He's like, how does he know that? I was like, he's watched House of a Thousand Corpses. He watches all these horror movies with me. He loves horror movies. So he's like, really? And he started talking to Sterling back and forth. And Sterling said, he's like, well, Fish Boy, he's actually fine. He went back to blah, 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 blah. And Sterling's like, I'm not gullible. Okay. I know. Like, and he was like real quick to correct Bill Moseley. And I'm like, and he starts laughing. And it's all like, it was just a good little fun little back and forth. We talked to the guy who played the original Jason. Like, we just have fun. We go to these horror conventions to do that shit. So
that's
Sterling,
cool, man.
He's finally getting into it. He went to one earlier in the year maybe, and we just go to him now. He wants to go to him because he's like, well, this is funny. Like, we get to go and we see all this scary shit all over the place and meet all these celebrities and the ones that they want to get autographs from. I let them get autographs from, but Dade, he's the one that collects all the autographs on the horror villain action figures. Mm-hmm. So, but Sterling, he just likes to go because of all the goofy shit and buying shirts and stuff. So Dade's got all the horror villain T-shirts and shit. Like, he's got one that's got Jason on it. It's like a mugshot of Jason, and it says, "Sometimes violence is the answer," or whatever. And he's got one that's got Ghostface on it. So he gets them all or whatever. But he wasn't super into the new Halloween movies. We just watched the new Halloween movies. This past weekend we watched them. I thought they were pretty good. I enjoyed them. I like when these horror villains from like yesteryear, when we get to see them again and they're super violent and they're like, you're scared of them again. Because like back in the day, we were scared of Scream, right? We were scared of Jason, you know.
Sure,
we were scared of Michael Myers because it was just like, that's just the world we lived in, right? But now you're like, well, you know, we've got fucking cell phones, we've got locks on our doors, we've got all this shit, you know, like nobody's getting in here. We've got shotguns, you know, like you can do all that stuff. And you're just like super confident, but then they redo these villains. Like Scream, when I watched the new Scream, I saw it in the theater. I was like this, I was like, holy shit. Wow. Like, he was violent. Like, that was a lot to take in from this Ghostface. He was very violent and very like it was forceful is the way I would describe it. He was like a powerhouse, right? And same thing with Michael Myers. Like, when in the new one, you know, the old ones, you watch them now and you're like, all right, there was a time for Michael Myers where he was kind of like a goofy little fucking, you know, you walked around the house and he was like, this scary music. Oh, you know, it was scary back when we were kids or whatever, but now it's not scary. And then you watch the new ones and you're like, whoa, wow. Like, he's just killing everybody, like really violently. And you're just smashing the dude's head against the thing and like against a toilet stall or whatever. And like exploding his head all over the place. You know, like that stuff, like I'm glad they're reinventing it and they're bringing it back and making it scary again, you know? So that, because if I told my kids, I said, man, I was like, we were going to do movie night. We do movie night every Friday. And I said, listen, I know you guys want to watch Halloween. If we want to watch the whole series, all we got to watch is Halloween 1, 2, and then we skip to the new trilogy. But you know, the other ones are like if we want to watch a different timeline of Michael Myers or whatever. But I was like, if we want to watch this timeline, 1, 2, and then the new ones, Halloween Kills, and Halloween Ends, which comes out in October. I said, but I've also consulted with the internet and I found out that you don't need to watch the originals to like appreciate the new trilogy, right? So I said, we can skip right ahead and we can just watch Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, right? And you guys won't miss anything. They give you enough, right? And so they were like, well, let's just do that then. And I said, okay, I'm into it because the original Halloweens are not scary anymore and they're not going to scare kids, right? So I said, let's just go ahead and skip to the new one. So that's what we did. And I'm loving that. The only exception, Nightmare on Elm Street. You watch Nightmare on Elm Street, the new one? Garbage.
No,
absolute
dude,
garbage.
No.
Can't do it.
I appreciated that they got pretty close, like facial. Yeah, I mean, they took a really fucking ugly guy, you know.
Well, yeah, they picked Jackie O'Haley, the most ugliest person in the world. And they slapped some more makeup on him.
They made sure. They're like, all right, look, even if we have to cut back on some of the budget for the makeup, we got pretty good, you know. We're okay to work with this one, kind of thing. And I liked him in The Watchmen as Rorschach.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
he's
and all that kind of stuff.
He's a good actor when it comes to a child predator, right? That's where he excels.
You know, yeah, it's really fucked up, actually. But what I have seen, like, it's this trend of trying to reignite movies by putting in a guy people know. And that's the big deal. Like when Mark Hamill voiced Chucky. And everybody's like, whoa, man, Mark Hamill, you know, because he was his Luke Skywalker showed up in The Mandalorian and yada yada yada. So it was like, oh wow, Mark Hamill revival, fuck Star Wars, he's cool, whatever. And then Chucky's awful. It's just, I didn't even watch it. I just saw the reviews first, and I was
I'll
like,
tell you, the movie didn't do it. No, the movie is. So here's the thing with Chucky too. I hate to step on the whoobies. This will be the last thing I talk about before we move to the whoobies. We'll unilaterally grant an extra half an hour to the show so that we can do the whoobies, since we missed it last week. So much news to cover, right?
Tons. Can you believe it?
The new 2 weeks worth, right? And we're trying to pack it into 1 week.
Unreal.
The new Chucky. So here's the charm with the original Chucky was that, and like kind of like the extra wiggle room that they had, was the original Chucky was based on voodoo, right?
Right. Yep.
So you're like, okay, well, we're gonna go ahead and suspend reality a little bit further because it's voodoo, right? It's like
voodoo.
Right now, voodoo is real. That's for sure. Like I can tell you, as very matter of factly, that voodoo is real. But a lot of people just don't. They're like, voodoo. It's fucking some fake Papa Legba shit or whatever. Some fake Haitian nonsense or whatever. It's Haitian witchcraft, which again, witchcraft is real. All this shit is real that like people are very dismissive of. But voodoo, you hear of voodoo and you're so used to it just being like shit upon, like because of stuff like Chucky. You're just like, all right, some goofy fucking magic shit or whatever that doesn't exist. So you suspend reality to a certain extent with Chucky because you're like, well, it's voodoo stuff, right? So who fucking cares? It's not supposed to be real. But then you have like this new Chucky, and that lasted forever, right? It was a voodoo curse that this guy was in a doll, even through the show that that's been renewed for a second season. Like for decades, right? Since I was born, like 88, I think I was born in 85, but 88, they've been doing Chucky, right? So, you look back and you're like, this has been going on for fucking ever, right? And welcome to the chat, by the way, Joseph Byrer, and also James, I think, is still listening, so I told him I would give him a shout out. Jamis of whatever fame, I don't know, as if he's not my brother, of whatever fame, I don't know who he is, but no, he's in the chat as well. James, make yourself known if you care to. But so this guy, he's like this voodoo curse, and it's like lasted, and they've been able to milk it for this long, for decades upon decades, right? And people still watch that shit, right? And I do. I watched Cult of Chucky, and I was like, anew, right? And then like the show, I watched the show as woke as it was, right? They took Chucky, and they made it woke, right? Now at least they didn't make woke and made it Chucky, right? There's at least that's kind of the world we live in now. Are they taking my product and making it woke, or are they taking woke and making it my product, right? Jama said, I don't care, thank you. But so that's what they did with the show, is they took Chucky and they made it woke. But even like the person who is kind of like accepting of or tolerant of the LGBT shit in the show is Chucky, who is a homicidal maniac who kills people who's trapped in dolls. So it's like, when you start to look at the implications, you're like, well, so, there was a gay kiss. There was like a lot of gay shit in that show, but Chucky was also like, he was the guy who kind of like, well, Chucky's the villain of the show. And then Chucky goes and like, signs off on it as like, oh no, LGBT is fine. I don't care. Like, I have a son who's a bi or whatever because his fucking son.
His son is, yeah.
So like, he
was
the guy.
Kenobi.
So, no, it's not Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's not how it's pronounced. And he is very, he's very heterosexual. In fact, in the Clone Wars, you see that he is very incredibly heterosexual. But he is a Jedi, so he can't have attachments. That's why he's not allowed to be banging. Anakin was the one who broke the rules, right? As a matter of fact, there are Jedi throughout the timeline who have had families, or who actually ended up banging it out with a bunch of chicks. But apparently chicks love Jedi. But anyways, Chucky was the one who like signed off on the LGBT community, and Chucky himself is like the villain, right? The purported villain of the show. So it's like, what is it really saying? Is it saying LGBT is okay because it's okay, or is it saying LGBT is okay if you're the villain, right? And the villain signs off on it. So if you're LGBT, you're endorsed by the villain of the show. And then plus like the gay kid in the show, the gay kids in the show, one of them's a person of color and the other one's like mildly retarded. So it's like, where do white people feel like, well, I'm a gay white person, I don't feel included by this. Oh, but also like it's the villain who's like signing off on, maybe I'm not gay, and then they like actually leave. So maybe the Chucky show has actually done more good for the stamping out of homosexuality, the embers of homosexuality, than it did.
I think you're giving way too much credit to the ability of the Chucky show to spread.
If you look at the director and the writer of the Chucky franchise, Dan Mancini, he's like clearly gay, incredibly like flagrantly gay. Anyways, Jerry, what do we got to do with the whoobies? What do you got for me?
Yeah. All right. So it's been a while, so I'm trying to make sure that I have some pretty good ones. All right. Here we go. Tom, we're going to do the blanks. I just want to make that clear. Excuse me.
I'm ready. As if I think there's like a bunch of news articles out there with blanks in them. I'm like, well, yeah. It's a terrible headline.
Video shows. Oh, here we go. Video shows. Blank worker. I'm going to give you a hint there. Sex. It's a fast food, which also is sex. Video shows blank worker pouring blank
so on two blanks?
Yes, on customers. Video shows blank worker.
Let me work through
this. Fast food joint.
Let me work through this with my face on camera, so you know I'm not cheating.
Right.
Video shows blank fast food worker pouring blank on customers, and you've indicated that it's a fast food. So I hear pouring something on customers. Immediately, I'm thinking like felony, right? Because this
sugar
is
on me. Yes.
Right.
It's assault or pepper.
This is Def Leppard. No, it's not Def Leppard. Who is that sings that song? Pour some sugar on me.
Oh goodness.
Mike is gonna know it.
Poison.
Mike is gonna know it. Left Deppard. Poison. It might be, or Twisted Sister. Any of those, a lot of those bands run together. But I'm thinking felony, like whatever it is. I'm thinking automatically that it's a felony, right?
Right.
Some kind of assault. Because I'm thinking instinctively, I'm thinking like hot grease, oil.
Okay.
Maybe I'm thinking like some, I don't know. I'm thinking that there's some kind of like, especially if it's being reported. Because if somebody pours chicken nuggets on you, you're gonna be like,
Come on, I would absolutely have that on the front page. Are you fucking kidding me?
I wouldn't. I would just brush it off and be like, "Hey, man, I asked for a Big Mac." Right?
On this show?
Well, if we were doing it, it would be something hilarious. But so I think felony. First thing I think when I think felony is Long John Silver's, right?
Okay.
So, video shows Long John Silver's worker pouring. Now I'm kind of backed myself into a corner. Amanda says it's Def Leppard. I was right. Did I say Def Leppard at the beginning?
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Pouring. So I'm thinking Long John Silver's, backed myself into a bit of a corner here because it can only be so many things. Batter, right? But it could also be still hot oil. But also I'm thinking like these are people who probably I think like, so can one of these words be I'm getting a call from my uncle of all people. Yeah, on the show it's 11:05 at night and he's in the same time zone as I am, so he has no excuse. I'll call him after this. Long John Silver's worker pouring. So I'm thinking maybe there's a hyphenated word in here. A hyphenated word counts as one word, right? There's no hyphen between the two words.
Well, I mean, are you talking about Mary Kate Olsen?
No, well, nobody poured Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen on somebody in a restaurant.
Are you sure?
Certainly not Long John Silver's. I have seen. So I'm thinking it's a hyphenated.
No, there's no hyphen. It is a description of a noun.
Well, yeah, but sometimes like hyphenated words are descriptions.
Oh
of
no,
nouns, right?
no.
Like there can be a hyphenated. See, Megabit says boiling water, and he's probably right. I have found that Megabit Banshee 9 times out of 10 is correct. Megabit Banshee is as often right as he is a faithful husband, right? So often,
every time,
always is he right. But I'm still going to stick with my hyphenated adjective. I'm going to say, even though you've told me that it's not,
right? It's funnier like that.
I'm going to say, no, let me read it out to you. Video shows, and I hope you'll imagine with me. I hope you'll place yourself in. Do yourself like a little
Tom's
mind's
world.
eye, right? Do yourself a mind's eye, and put yourself in this position, because it'll help you to recognize. Video shows Long John Silver's worker pouring AIDS-contaminated blood on customers. Where am I at?
You're very close. Very close.
Is it boiling water? I bet you it's boiling water.
Yeah, it is. Video shows Taco Bell worker pouring boiling water on customers.
You know what? Taco Bell. Sometimes you see a Taco Bell and you see a Long John Silver's in the same place, right? You know, they're like.
I think didn't they do the same?
Company.
It was like Long John Silver's, Pizza Hut, and Taco Bell, right?
And actually KFC as well. So.
Oh, that's right, KFC.
Close. I was very, very close.
So here's the thing, Tom.
Like I said, man, he's.
Yeah. You should trust him. So Tom, here's the thing. There was the police officer who arrived first on scene was asked about what was going on at the scene, and they said, "I can't believe she shot her with that racist automatic rifle."
What is she even talking about? It was just water.
No, because she said, "Listen, I cannot believe this girl shot that other woman with a racist automatic rifle." Toasty! We have an agenda to do here, Tom. Okay? We have an agenda. So.
It was boiling water, Jerry. It was AIDS-contaminated blood. It was the monkeypox.
So, all right, Tom,
Had
here we
she
go.
not been handed the card by the government official?
Well, no, what happened, honestly, was that you can't hear on the video, but there is a video, and it shows the two women making their way
downtown
behind the counter, and the woman in fear just dumped boiling water on them.
So she was justified in pouring AIDS-contaminated blood on her.
I mean, I can't, if you go behind the counter, I don't know what you're supposed to expect. I don't know why.
Megabit would have had like a win. He would have had a win. I was thinking
he
Taco Bell.
Yeah.
But he didn't want to say it because he's like partially Hispanic, right? Or like wholly. He's actually wholly Hispanic as
well, did you know Taco Bell is also partially Hispanic?
So he's more Hispanic than Taco.
That's right. So Tom, here we go. We've got I can't believe it. Here we go. Man surprises and blanks elderly woman who is doing yard work at home. Okay? One word. Man surprises and blanks elderly woman.
Well, this is easy. We covered this last week, Jerry. Or a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
What?
Man surprises and fingers an elderly woman doing yard work at home.
In a lineup?
No. In her various orifices. Yeah.
Well, Tom, let me tell you. So here's the thing. Man surprises and rapes an elderly woman.
I knew it. I was right.
And you know what happened?
She got off because she was an elderly woman and like her husband couldn't get it up anymore.
Two onlookers were asked what they saw at the scene, and they said, well, he did his business, and when he was done, he said, "Take my rake again. I dare you." Toasty!
I forgot to do the whoopsies.
That's okay, because you were so shocked by what I can't believe.
Well, here's the thing, Jerry.
Okay.
I have a hard time. Now, I don't have a hard time suspending reality.
You don't believe what I just said?
I don't have a hard time suspending reality for a TV show about a voodoo doll that has existed in a doll for 20-some years and has been reborn in a doll many times. I don't have a hard time suspending reality for that. What I do have a hard time suspending reality for is a woman doing yard work.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Thank you.
That's a good one.
You know me, like you'll do the good jokes and then I'll do the ones that are like I'll just be making fun of an entire demographic, right? Like I'll make fun of women, make fun of the elderly, make fun of the blacks.
That's still a good joke.
The Latin community, right? Like,
No,
I'll
but
just
here's
make
the
fun of
thing: is you
everybody.
took a joke, you took the direction we all thought you were going in one direction.
Where did you think I was going, Jerry?
Well, I would have thought, because anybody, if they were having a serious conversation, which is, even if people are watching this joking show, that's where the old noggin goes. So anybody in the right mind would have said, Jerry, I don't think that I can't suspend my disbelief and think that a guy literally said, take my rake again. After,
Try and take my rake again.
Right. Try to take my rake again. Try to take my rake again. And no, so instead you were like, no, that's impossible. There was not a woman doing yard work.
Women don't do yard work.
Can't do that.
There should have been
Tom.
like a rape rake joke, right? Like,
could have been. Yeah.
You didn't go there though.
Yeah. Huh.
You rake my yard. I'll rake you.
You know what's this? Oh wait, let's see. Oh, here we go. Okay, if you go raking your yard with my rake again, you and the rake are gonna have a similar spot in a pile of leaves over there.
You have to bury them deeper than a pile of leaves, Jerry.
Oh no, they're old. They go fast.
They immediately decompose.
It's just so.
When an elderly woman dies, they look like Thanos snapped.
Yeah, I don't know why anybody has a funeral for them. They're gone. There's not even you can't even put anything in a box, So Tom, here's one for you. After serving 10 years in prison for blanking blank. Okay. Got that? After serving 10 years in prison for blanking blank, man robbed. Oh, man. Okay. Man blanks the same blank again.
So, I'm not a retarded predator catcher. So I caught what you just said just now.
About the raking?
About what he did. Like,
I
heard the verb.
You don't take my rake?
I heard the verb that you said just now.
Shit. Damn. All right.
However,
all right.
I'm going to pretend like I didn't. Because I like to play these ad-libs.
They are fun, right?
After serving 10 years in prison for blanking blank.
Right.
Man blanks the same blank again. Which is like in itself already a funny story. Like even if I wasn't making up the thing.
Even if I didn't give you a chance, it's still funny,
So here's what I'm gonna do with it. Because then it makes it even worse. And I'll tell you why it makes it worse, right?
Okay.
After serving 10 years in prison for fingering a minor, man fingers the same minor again. Now, why it's worse is because you have to add in the 10
because
years.
they had to be yes, you have to be so 17. The oldest they could have been at first was 7.
In reality, there are some states, I don't know where this took place. It might have been 16 where the age of consent.
Oh, that's right. Yes, so 6 max.
Maybe it's a 5.
Holy shit.
It would have to be.
You would have
5. To safely guess that it was a 5-year-old that he fingered, which to me is hilarious, Jerry.
Well, Tom, this is crazy. Okay,
there's nothing hilarious
close.
about fingering.
No, you were so close. After serving 10 years in prison for robbing banks, Florida man robs the same bank again days after being released. And the interrogation was released, and as part of that, the police said, "How could you do this? What is wrong with you?" To which he said, "Well, I could have gone to jail for fingering a minor, and then 10 years later fingered that minor again. That'd be worse."
Toasty! Is it, Jerry? I'll pin it on you instead. Is it worse, Jerry? How dare you?
Is it? I mean, and then here's the crazy. See, I mean, it is Florida. Okay.
10 years ago, Jerry, I fingered you. And I served my sentence.
Could you imagine?
I'm gonna finger you again.
Like one of those.
And then he gets arrested again because you're.
Dude, could you
50.
imagine one of those dramatic movie court like, and he's getting whisked away. He goes, "You think this fingering is over?"
I'll be back in 10 years to finger you again. And then she's like, yeah, well, by then I'll be an adult. It'll be okay. Then it'll just be a regular rape charge.
Yeah, then it's just, come on. No one even cares. No one even cares then. But he also said, they said, all right, what were you thinking? And he said, well, fool me once, shame on.
Shame on. Can't get fooled again. That's what he said.
Can't get fooled again.
The old George
And it turned
Bush.
out, Tom, people have a love affair, right? People have love affairs, And it turned out, yes, he stole from them on paper. But apparently the bank stole his heart because he showed up. The reason he got caught is he showed up with a boombox over his head, blasting the Doors' "Love Me" 2 times.
And a bouquet of flowers. Yeah.
And a bouquet of flowers before he fingered them again.
Where's the manager of this bank? I'm gonna finger him so hard. It's a him because because it's a bank, right? And it's
I have boiling water in the back of my car. You better fucking take me seriously.
James said in the chat, he said, respect for that guy. He had a score to settle. Talking about fingering the minor. He came back and fingered him again. So, and we haven't even actually, we're not even sure if it's a woman or a young lady, right?
Yeah. That's true. So here we go.
Yeah. Is there another one?
We got to rapid fire a little bit. I have a review in the morning. That's why.
Okay. Yeah.
So
I'm ready.
Here's one. 4 Rikers Island blanks stood down and watched as a blank attempted to blank. I'm going to do this again. 4 Rikers Island blanks stood down and watched as a blank attempted to blank.
So I'm laughing because James in the chat says, I meant about the bank.
Oh.
Whichever works. Yeah, I would never put that on him. So
yeah.
As a person who uses kind of like context clues often in his readings, I would assume that the 4 Rikers Island prison guards stood down as a prisoner attempted to blank. But I don't like to do that. I don't like to use context clues. I would rather say
it's very obvious.
4 Rikers Island. Because if I had to guess, I'd say 4 Rikers Island prison guards stood down as a prisoner attempted to escape. I don't know. That's what I would get if I had to if I was really trying to do this right. That's what I would say. Right. But instead, I'm going to say 4 Rikers Island, because we know Rikers Island is a prison. That's all it's known for, right?
That's right.
4 Rikers Island. I'm gonna flip the script.
Okay.
I'm gonna do this. 4 Rikers Island prisoners stood down as a guard attempted to break the Guinness Book of World Records record for how many hard-boiled eggs he could fit inside of his anus. That's my guess. That's my guess. That's my honest guess. I can't. Kidding. I think that's probably the most realistic.
I will say it is a headline, if nothing else, right? I mean, I would.
It's an awful long headline. You know.
Yes,
what I mean?
But here's what you're up against. You're up against. All right, here's reality, or what I want reality to be, and then what headlines is Jerry going to bring to the show? Right. That's. I mean, that's true. That right. So, unfortunately, it's a bit more straightforward. 4 Rikers Island guards stood down and watched as teen attempted suicide. Now, Tom, here's the thing. Doesn't sound funny, I admit. But here's the thing, right? They asked all of them, hey, what was up with that, man? Right? You know what they said?
I don't.
What
I
was
mean,
I
if you
supposed
heard my guess, you would know that I don't know what they said.
They said, so the guy was trying to kill himself right in front of you. Well, yeah, where were you? And they said, what, was I supposed to do something? And here's the thing.
I have to wait until the whoopies is done.
Yeah,
before
but
I can...
Tom, here's the thing. I do have to say, the teen is okay. He's going to be living with extensive brain damage for the rest of his life. So they hired him as a guard.
As a former prison guard, I approve.
Right.
I have met some very slow prison guards, and to say that they probably have some mental issues is
well, right.
Yeah, honestly, most of them are very stupid. I'm just gonna say it. So here's if you ever talk to somebody. So and here's I hope nobody has ever like heard me talking about my time as a prison guard and been like, oh wow, Tom's pretty cool. He did fucking use a prison guard. Cool. Like I hope nobody ever thought about that. I hope they thought, wow, Tom was a prison guard. All right. Like I hope that was like the attitude that you have towards it, because that is the prison guard is, as far as how it relates to like police work, I would say it's akin to being a predator catcher on YouTube who has autism, is like what the prison guard community is, right? Like, okay. So this is people who, the thing with prison guards is like, you're in a building, yeah, with a bunch of bad guys, right? But they're all behind cells, and they're behind big glass, thick ass windows where like they can't really hurt you. And if they're going to put you at risk, you can just not get involved. Like you're supposed to try to stop them, but like you're not supposed to put yourself or anyone else in danger. So like if they're doing something stupid that they're going to hurt themselves, you just kind of let them do it. You just got to let them go. You do your best to stop them, but if they're not going to stop and it's going to put other people at risk, you just don't get involved. Whereas like cops, you have like an expectation. Now, you're not required to, right? But because there's like Supreme Court rulings that say like police are not required to get involved in certain things.
Literally their safety over your rights is what I saw a guy do a deposition recently. It was like, whoa, I don't think that's actually accurate, but you know.
Most of the time, in many cases, police officers will get involved. They will do what is right for the person. Unfortunately, we never see those people in like YouTube videos, like I talked about earlier, the audit the audience or whatever. But we don't often see those in those because those aren't interesting videos where like people are like, no, you're right.
They did the right thing.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, like they don't show those videos. They show the ones where people are like assholes or whatever, or are wrong. You know, because it's clickbait. It's interesting stuff to watch and be like, you stupid fucking cop. But like most cops, I would hope, most cops that I know, all the cops that I know, currently that I still interact with, are guys that I trust with my safety, right? That is not the case with prison guards, and the reason there's a requirement to go to the academy to become a police officer versus like you just have to show up.
You have to go to Taco Bell.
Yeah, you go to Taco Bell and get like oil splashed at you or whatever, or boiling water splashed at you, and you just have to dodge it real good, and then you're a prison guard. Like there's a difference between. I literally did like a 2-week kind of. I'm sorry, it wasn't even 2 weeks. It was like a week of classes, but like the first 2 days we watched PowerPoints, and then the 3 days.
Oh, I was hoping you were saying Power Rangers. We
didn't do that. No, we weren't even nearly that high speed or whatever. But then like we followed people around for a day, and then I think like after that we were like on our own. I mean, it was like 3 days of training, and if even that, and it was just. That was it. And then they were just like, good luck, have fun. Because you can't fuck that job up. So if anybody ever tells you like, oh, you know, I was a prison guard or I was a jail guard or whatever, you know, like that's not a job. Like, and not to shit on my mom because I love my mom, but like she was a jail guard, right? Like, and she was like in her middle ages when she started doing it. So if it's a job that my middle-aged
woman can do,
it's probably a job that isn't super physically intense, right? You know, it's not one that you have
Yeah.
to like, you know, you're gonna be like wrestling inmates and fucking fighting people with guns and stuff. It's not that. It's a glorified babysitter position, really. And you know, and in the situation where you're like in trouble, you literally just don't open the door, right? Like, if they're like, oh, I'm gonna fucking choke you out, Miller, right? Like, because that happened, right? There would be people who'd be like, as soon as you open this door, motherfucker, I'm gonna fucking shank your ass, or what? You know, they'd say some shit like that. I'd be like, well, then I'm just not gonna open the door. You've not given me a lot of incentive to let you out, right? So like, I'm just gonna leave you in there until you fucking chill out, and I'll go serve chow to these other guys, right? Like, I'll go over here. I'll let these guys go to fucking rec yard or whatever. You know, like, it's one of those situations. Whereas a cop, you know, you're out in the streets, and maybe something bad happens, and you've got to make a split-second decision. You can't just be like, well, well, you can technically, legally, you're allowed to just like not get involved, but like, you know, you can't just be like, well, I'm just gonna leave the fucking door shut. You know, like that's not the case with police officers. That's like the thing that I've tried to relay to some of my police friends, because they're like, well, I deal with like 10 people in a day and 9 of them are good. Maybe one of them is a pain in the ass or whatever. You deal with 10 out of 10 people you deal with is a pain in the ass. And I'm like, well, but they're also behind doors. Like, I could just leave them there and not deal with it. I'd be like, oh, do you need a pencil? True. Well, I'm not going to, because you're being a piece of shit right now. So I'm not going to go get you a pencil, right? I'll get you your chow, and if you want to make a mess with your chow, you got to clean your room. You got to live there. I don't, right? So like, the same is true. So like these prison guards who are like, you know, what was I supposed to do? Like, you know, I get it.
Yeah, I mean that was what were they? Yeah, it said
the teenager who hanged himself or whatever.
Oh yeah, he was hired as a security guard, or as a guard.
Yeah,
so
it doesn't take much to become a prison guard, I can assure you. Like, you literally just have to have a clean background.
You literally just have to.
I graduated high school. Like, dude, I had a bachelor's degree, and I was like 100% more qualified to be there than everybody else. And my degree was in business, and the rest of them were like, they were just like doing it so that they could go on and become a cop or whatever, and because being here you have to be like competitive to become a cop, so you have to do time as like a prison guard or whatever. So they did it for that reason alone. But you don't need a degree to become a cop. You don't need a degree to become a prison guard. Same shit.
That's true.
So yeah, anyways.
Well, speaking of high level protectors in our society, Tom, whistleblowers say the FBI blanked and blanked agents to classify cases as domestic terrorism. Whistleblowers say the FBI blanked and blanked agents to classify cases as domestic terrorism.
So I know this one. I read this article earlier.
Okay.
Because we get our news from the same trusted sources sometimes.
Yeah.
Whistleblowers say blank and blank agents to classify. Wait, you said FBI somewhere in there.
Whistleblowers say FBI blanked and blanked agents to classify cases as domestic terrorism.
Okay, so I know the answer is actually like coerced and encouraged or whatever. Agents to classify cases.
It's close.
It's essentially the same thing. But I would say that whistleblowers say FBI
fingered and
raked and sprayed AIDS-contaminated blood on agents. It's all hyphenated.
Put monkeypox butt on their faces.
Fingering minor. Minor. I'm trying to like look at the old stuff. Inmates stood down as a guard attempted to break the Guinness Book of World Records. So I'm looking at my old stuff to do a callback, but I don't know if I can. So whistleblowers say FBI watched. No. Say FBI invested and purchased plans from Hey, It's a Vigilante OnlyFans for agents to classify as domestic terrorism? Final answer.
You know, I got to tell you, you are so much closer
than you thought I would be. Yeah.
You think, well, yeah, because whistleblowers say FBI pressured and incentivized agents to classify cases as domestic terrorism. And it turns out, Tom, I looked into this, and one of the whistleblowers has spoken exclusively to us here at You Had Me at Bigfoot.
Well, that's a first.
Yeah, it's crazy. And they told me, well, yes. So I said, incentivized? What do you mean? And I did this. I said, what do you mean? Right? And then they said, yes, they offered us a buy two, get one free Chick-fil-A sandwich coupon.
from Taco Bell.
So, and I said, really? And they said, so of course, I sent my fellow men to get fucked in the ass in prison. It's Chick-fil-A.
You can't do that for Chick-fil-A. There's a clause in Chick-fil-A's charter.
No, but no, he said not on Sunday though.
Well, you can't any day. You can't be gay any day in like Chick-fil-A.
Oh,
that's
look.
in the clause.
Right.
Yeah, scribble that out. Whatever you have written there.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sorry. Fucked in the ass meaning prison. It was forced. It was a rake job.
Oh, it was like a metaphor.
Right.
You know what? I like Megabit Banshee's answer better than the real answer. Not my answer. I like it better than your answer. The real answer. Whistleblowers. Yeah, whistleblowers say FBI dared and double dared agents to classify cases as domestic terrorism. I like that one better. I wrote that one down instead of.
No, that's a great one.
Yeah.
So I got two more. We're gonna go.
Oh
quick.
wow!
Here we go.
Okay. Every time I'll tell you what, Jerry. Every time I think that like the whoobies are over, like they normally are, right? They normally are. Where I'm like, okay, well that's it for this week, right? But then like when you're telling me that there's two more, I'm like, I'm excited because we get to keep doing nonsense.
Doing the thing. That's right. Yeah. All right, here we go. Silly. Are you ready?
I've been ready.
Here we go. Houston gang member who allegedly blanked,
fingered,
the hiding of blank of blank.
Oh my goodness.
Is sentenced. Houston gang member who allegedly blanked the hiding of a blank is sentenced.
So, okay. Dare and double dare and triple dare. Double dog dared.
Okay.
No, I don't know. Let me make sure I got this right, because I have to write these down as you tell me. Because you never tell me before the show, like I asked you to.
No, this is Houston, all live. We don't even tell him.
I had asked Jerry ages ago when we started doing the whoobies to just send me like the blanked out ones so that I didn't have to write them down as he was talking, but he refuses to because it's funnier this way.
It takes away from the show.
Houston gang member who allegedly blanked the hiding.
Blanked.
Okay, so there's a D. Okay, I want to make sure.
Yeah.
I'll add that.
Blanked.
Past tense. Blanked the hiding of a blank is sentenced. This is a tough one. Can you give me like, since it's like so complex, can you give me noun, adjective, verb?
Okay.
There's three blanks.
Allegedly past tense verbed.
Okay.
Hiding of noun. Of a noun.
That doesn't help me. Doesn't help me at all.
I mean,
I should have asked for more specific.
I mean,
can you use it in a sentence, please? Can you use?
You mean the sentence I literally?
Can you use the blanks in a sentence?
Okay, I will use. Yeah, here we go. Houston gang member who allegedly blanked hiding blank of blank is the sentence I used it in.
All right.
That's the
All right. Who allegedly Houston gang member who allegedly a fan of the show reached out to me that week that we did the fingered everything, and they said, what was with you and fingering everybody? So like this week I'm also like finger.
Let's bring it back, you know.
Yeah. Houston gang member who allegedly This doesn't even sound like a crime. Right?
Oh,
like it
wait,
doesn't sound
it's
like
a
a crime,
fucking crime,
right? Is
it
it
a
a
crime?
Okay. Or no, don't tell
me.
Oh,
it's a fucking crime, yeah.
Who allegedly criticized the hiding of a Declaration of Independence of a nation is sentenced. So it's actually Nick Cage. Is like the.
I was going to
like,
say
that's
this
the
is,
answer to the question,
right?
Right?
Yeah. He would Houston gang member who allegedly masterminded the hiding of a body of a kindergartner is sentenced.
Yeah. So what's like? Where's the crime?
Well, Tom, it's funny. Right? Well, I mean, really, it's not funny, of course. But here's the thing,
Jerry. I'm gonna shame you, even after I just said that. Like murdering a kid isn't like that.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you this. I gotta tell you, I watched this YouTube. They show a lot of crime in the actual trials and stuff.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying?
All right.
And so I watched this trial, and the opening salvo by the DA, like, I mean, it just took me aback. You know what I'm saying? Here's what he said. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this was the ultimate hide and seek gone wrong.
He killed the kid for. Oh, hold on, I gotta do the whoopsies.
Sorry, yeah. Do I need to repeat that?
No, I don't think you do, Jerry.
No?
Terrible, Jerry. I can't believe that you would advocate. And on the same episode that I said something about fingering a child.
Right.
Fingering a minor.
Yeah,
you
dare
did say this. Allegedly mastermind the hiding of a kindergartner. What was your
Right.
thing that you said that was offensive just now? You said something. Hide and
the
seek.
DA.
That's right. That's the worst.
The opening salvo from the DA was, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this is the ultimate in hide and go seek gone wrong. And then he pointed at the camera.
Do you think like it pays to be cute when you're the prosecutor? Do you think like that sort of situation it would pay to be cute and say something
you
like
better
that?
You better have a lot of cleavage.
Or do you do you think the
Even
jury would find that distasteful? Like that time that I told like when I broke my phone and I told the person on the phone when I was trying to like claim my insurance for my phone, and I said my phone looks like crystal knocked, and she was like not thrilled with it. So like the same situation, but like there's more at stake, right? When you say like, "Oh, this is the worst game of hide and seek ever."
Is it really more when it's a guy who hid the dead body of a 5-year-old, and you're like, I mean, if I lose this case because I show a lot of leg, I mean, at least I tried,
I did my best, guys.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what you literally let you know what you gave me to work with? Hiding the dead body of a 5-year-old. So I wore short cut shirts. So, all right, Tom, last one. Here we go. Ready? Film Academy member.
Oh, I saw this.
Jeff Cooper, blanked of blanked blank, learns his fate. Okay.
So Film Academy, you're gonna have to go slower because I have to write these down. Film Academy member
Jeff Cooper.
Oh, Jeff.
Yeah. Blanked of blank blank learns his fate.
So I know that this guy diddled a kid. Like this is a guy who fingered a minor, and then 10 years after, or
fuck it,
you
God. Okay, look. Here's what we're gonna do. Here's what I'm taking control. So
all right,
here's
go ahead.
Because I know I stole your thunder earlier, and now I know what it feels like, because I could not think of something to say, but I wanted the story, And so then when you said that shit earlier, I said, I got it. I'm going to do a callback.
You missed the opportunity.
Well, yeah, because because the game is for you to, right? So it's Film Academy member Jeff Cooper, convicted of child molestation, learns his fate, right?
Right.
And so the woman, she's now a woman, she's 28 years old. She said, I'm no longer the little girl you took advantage of with no voice or power. I stand before you now a woman with her voice and power. You no longer hold that power. I do. And in his rebuttal, he said, well, 10 years from now, I'll get out and finger you again.
Hold on, let me do the movies.
Okay.
See, yeah, you could have had that. Would have been a really good one if you would have stolen it,
right? Because it was a callback from
10
minutes ago, and it was a surprise in the shit. You know,
that would have been perfect. That's why. Now I see why you were cussing just a second ago. All right.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, I remember reading about that. I saw. Look, so here's the thing. Here's the sad state of the world that we're in. Right? Is I saw Academy Award winner, or member of the Academy or whatever,
right.
convicted of fingering or diddling a kid or whatever, and I was like, okay, well, yeah, I mean, he's a member of the Academy, right? Like, that was like my thought.
Yep.
It wasn't oh like Brian's replacement on Family Guy when they're like, when they're talking about like an Italian kid who dies or whatever, he's like, yeah. every time they say something that I'm like not surprised by, I always feign surprise, like, oh my god, I can't believe that somebody in Hollywood would have done such a thing. No.
That's right.
But and I don't know why those are headlines. I think that should be one of those things where it's like, to no one's surprise. Like those headlines should be prefaced by to no one's surprise, this person in Hollywood did such and such, and you're like, oh, like, well, yeah. Oh,
can you believe? But it's all in sarcastic italics.
Yeah,
somehow.
they do like the /s or whatever, like it's internet jargon. And that's kind of the world that we live in, where it's like, now we're gonna use internet jargon and shit. But it's like, to know, if I were a headline, if I were an editor at a popular newspaper or some kind of publication, right, I would institute a policy to where if something like that happened, I would say, this is our thing. Every time somebody in Hollywood fucks a kid, right? Every time Alec Baldwin shoots somebody, every time, and I would say, like, anytime something happens where you're just like, you're not surprised by it, but you know that it's newsworthy, I would say include the prefix to no one's surprise. Alec Baldwin shoots a woman on the set, right? Like, I would say, to no one's surprise, Academy member rapes a kid. To no one's surprise, I would just say, do that, and that'll be like our gimmick. That'll be a funny thing, and we'll have some laughs. It'll be like our who was that fucking homosexual who for a long time was on Twitter, who would always say shit like, imagine my shock, right? He was like the Prison Planet or whatever.
Why can I not?
But he was Paul Joseph Watson.
Paul Joseph Watson. Yes.
He would always go, imagine my shock. That'd be our thing. Like, every time somebody in Hollywood did something, so and so overdosed in the Viper Room. Phoenix's River Phoenix once again is revived and then dies again of an overdose. To no one's surprise, River Phoenix is brought back to life and then dies again in that Viper Room on taking a speedball. Right? Like, that would be our thing. And I think that should be the policy, like, when somebody in Hollywood, because that's something that, and I think it should be the case with, Catholic preachers or Catholic priests. To no one's surprise, Catholic priest is found guilty of diddling a kid or whatever. And then, to no one's surprise, like, it's a follow-up, to no one's surprise, the Vatican just moves him somewhere else and lets it slide, right? To no one's surprise, I think we're at a point where, like, nothing surprises us anymore. If you read the newspaper, you will not be surprised by anything that's in the newspaper. That's just, that used to be a thing. Like, you would open the newspaper. I remember, I'm old enough to remember, like, I was an adult when newspapers were still relevant, right? And I would open the newspaper and be like, well, that's fascinating to learn that, or whatever. And I would go on about my day. I would read the paper, or whatever. It was something interesting to read. Oh, that's fascinating. Now, if you read the paper, you're like, well, imagine my shock, right? Fucking, it's all shit that I know is going on, but you guys have told me it's a conspiracy theory, right? Like, I've seen it a dozen times before, and you guys keep telling me that that's not a real thing. That's not something. Oh, somebody else dies unexpectedly after having COVID vaccination or whatever. Oh, another homosexual icon has monkeypox, right? Another, it's all shit that we've, like, been saying for so long, and then they're like, they'll cancel you if you say those things, where you're like, well, it's more common that people who are homosexuals would get monkeypox. Just don't do gay shit and you won't get monkeypox.
It is the current
trend. And then you get in trouble for saying don't do gay shit, and I literally got banned from a subreddit yesterday for saying don't do gay shit and you won't get monkeypox. Like they were talking about, it was the subreddit popping, right? Like,
were you in the subreddit gay shit though?
No, no, heavens no. I'm still a member of gay shit, the subreddit gay shit. But no, it's this, there's a subreddit for popping where they like remove cysts and stuff. Like I subscribe to. If you saw some of the subreddits I subscribe to, you'd be like, why the fuck are you subscribed to like amateur surgery, right? Bathroom surgery. And shit. It's like I need to know how to remove certain shit from, like, how to fix certain. Do bathroom surgery, right? Because the world is ending and I need to know how to like operate on myself and others, you know, in the event of whatever. So I was a member of popping, right, where they remove cysts and all that. And they do it with animals too, which is like useful information if you ever have like a horse that's got a cyst, or a cow that's got a cyst or whatever.
A sister.
Yeah, sister, which would be a heifer, right? But they, for cows, I think. But yeah, if you're like, I was a member of that group and somebody posted a thing, it got pinned and it said, remember, if you've got monkeypox, they look similar to zits, because there's some people who like pop real nasty fucking zits or whatever. And they're like, if you've got a monkeypox, don't pop it. It looks similar to zits. Be careful with it. Know the symptoms, blah, 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 blah. And my reply was, or just don't do gay stuff and you won't get monkeypox, right? Because that's it, right? And a lot of people disagree with me. They're like, no, well, you can get monkeypox and not be gay. Oh, for sure. You could be a kid and be molested by your uncle, right? Or your stepdad. You could be a kid, and the two kids in the United States who have been found and identified and diagnosed with monkeypox are tied back to homosexuals, right? Like they have homosexual stepfathers or whatever. So like when
they're so young too.
The only people who have monkeypox are the gays, right? And like, you know, you wonder why we call people groomers, and you wonder why we call people pedophiles, and you wonder why we like criticize the LGBT community so much the way that we do, is because the data speaks for itself. So when all of a sudden kids start coming up with monkeypox, and you look at the LGBT community, you're like, hey man, how did these fucking kids get monkeypox? And they're like, I don't know. But then you find out that these kids have ties to the homosexual community because their stepdads are gay or whatever, and their stepdads have fucking monkeypox on their mouth. And, you know, like, and you're like, okay, well, maybe, you know, monkeypox, you know, anybody can get it. Yeah, for sure, anybody can get it. But why is all of a sudden Washington, D.C., New York City, all these major cities, San Francisco, why are all of them only offering the vaccine to homosexuals? Why are they only offering it to men who have sex with men? And 18-year-old transgender men who were formerly, who were born men, right? Like people who do stuff with men who do stuff with men. It's not people. So like when you all of a sudden you see a woman with monkeypox, the first thing you should ask that woman is, so how long has your husband been on the app Grindr? Because your husband is fucking gay. That's the only way that you got monkeypox, is because your fucking husband is gay. Period. End of story. There is no debate. That is it. The people who are getting monkeypox are gay people. If you look at that, if you look at Twitter and you look at the guys who are like, oh, and Jerry and I were talking about this before the show, which is why we jumped on early, is because we were talking about some real funny stuff like this. We were talking about how there was like a guy Jerry saw, and I happened to see I saw the same post, so we were like laughing about it together. But like this guy was talking about, hey, I have monkeypox, and the only thing I can assume that caused it was the other day I went to a gay piss orgy.
For the second weekend in a row. And a bunch of guys were pissing in my mouth, and I was sucking gay guys' dicks off and eating men's asses. And all of a sudden this week I turned up with monkeypox. I don't know what happened. I happened to see another post that I was telling Jerry about. As I saw a guy, and it's like a post on Twitter, because they don't edit, you know, the gay shit or whatever. They don't edit pornography. There's an orgy going on, and this dude literally has another dude's ass, and he's eating this dude's ass, right, who's sitting on his face. And then and it says, hey, this is the gay orgy that happened, blah, 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 with at silver so-and-so. And then the next picture that was shared, it was actually, I think it was on Reddit, it must have been, but it showed like the side-by-side of that picture, like, hey, check out this gay orgy that we did this week or whatever. And it shows the date was like earlier in the week. And then the next picture was that guy who had the ass in his face, and he's saying,
and he's got monkeypox all over his mouth and shit. And he's like, I can't think of an isolated incident where I might have got monkeypox, right? And I'm like, and I'm looking at his screen name or whatever, and I'm looking at the screen name that was given in this tweet, and I'm like, that's you with a man's ass on your mouth, and you don't know of like maybe a situation in which, and that's when Jerry pointed out to me, he's like, well, that's the sad state of affairs, is like, you know, they don't have an isolated incident. It's just their entire life is a monkeypox outbreak waiting to happen, right?
Right.
And so they can't be like, well, I don't know who gave it to me, because it could have been any number of people whose asses I was eating or whose dicks I was chugging on. You know, it could have been anyone. You know, and but it's only gay guys that you're hearing about. It's not like, so here's my thing, my plea to you all is, if you, and I can't imagine we have any gay viewers, but if you're there, you know, please just stop it, knock it off. But you know, like those of you who are not gay but who are still like not in a monogamous like marriage or a monogamous relationship, just stay monogamous, right? Like if here's why I'm not worried about monkeypox. Because I am in a monogamous relationship with a woman who is not having sex with other people, right? And who is certainly not having sex with men who have sex with other men. Like, this is not a concern of mine because I'm not in that lifestyle. And then people go on and they say, well, it's my right to go on and live this lifestyle or whatever. Yeah, that's fine. And then you can go and you can become a statistic, right? You can go on and become, it's almost as if like, if you could look back at some kind of higher entity who despises homosexuality, and you can be like, well, maybe this supposed creator of the universe, who still has a hand in what goes on in this planet, in this universe, as it were, and he hates homosexuals, is punishing homosexuals. Wouldn't that be weird, right?
You mean
like,
Anthony Fauci?
Yeah, right. No, like the opposite. Like, God himself despises homosexuality and sexual immorality, and now all these homosexuals have AIDS and they have monkeypox, right? And they're like, why would this happen to me? What kind of just God would allow me to get monkeypox and AIDS and shit? Well, the God who said not to do that shit. That's who said not to do that shit. Anyways, that's my opinion on the matter.
Okay. Well, yeah.
What do you think about monkeypox, Jerry? Do you like the monkeypox?
Well, I mean, it is pretty cool. You know, I think if you're going to get anything this year, it's either a PlayStation 5 or monkeypox. No, of course it's awful. Stop eating asses of people you don't know. I mean, it's pretty easy, right? I mean, you'd think. Or how about this? Can you narrow it down to 10 people?
You know, like we're on the back end of a pandemic, right? We're on the back end of a pandemic.
Tom,
you shouldn't have been doing this stuff anyways, right?
Say that again.
We're on the back end of a pandemic, right? No, all right, Jerry. Let me rephrase that. All right. No, but we're on the, like, I thought you were like criticizing me because we're not even like in a pandemic at all. But all these people, they've been concerned about a pandemic, but they're like out there chugging dicks and eating asses in gay piss orgies, right? You know, like these are the same people who are like, oh, be careful, wear your mask in public, make sure you maintain 6 feet. And you're like, dude, you're out there doing the exact sort of thing.
You want me to wear a mask, but your breath smells like dookie.
Yeah,
I mean, really.
You smell like you just ate a dude's ass. Well, I just did. It smells like you just drank like a belly full of piss. I just did, as a matter of fact. You know, like,
funny you mentioned
these
that.
are the same people, and now you have to, like, you have the audacity to question me. Why am I not wearing a mask? Because you just chugged a bunch of dicks and ate a bunch of piss and ate asses and and you're asking me to wear a mask. Get the fuck out of here with your fucking monkeypox. Like, get a life. You know, like,
your audacity.
And can you imagine like some woman coming up to you and telling you need to wear a mask? And I'm like, how would you feel if like you found out that people were running? What would you say if like somebody had monkeypox and they weren't wearing a mask and they were like clearly flamboyantly gay? Would you criticize them, or would you like respect their lifestyle choices? Because these are the same people who 30 years ago who were running around bug chasing, trying to catch HIV so they didn't have to worry about it anymore. And you come to me to tell me to put on a mask, go fuck yourself. And don't let the door hit you on the way out, right? That's why I'm so angry at these people when they come to me and they try to tell me, hey, put on a mask. No, you go deal with the population that is spreading this shit. Don't come to me, because I wouldn't have even said a fucking word to you if you didn't come up to me. I didn't even talk to you. I wasn't even 6 feet from you, right? Like, you come out of your way to come talk to me. Go talk to the guy who's like prancing around like this with a belly full of piss and monkeypox on his mouth. Get the fuck out of here, right? Like, that's my attitude towards these people, and it blows my mind that they're like this. Jerry, do you have anything else to say about monkeypox?
Yeah, please don't drink a lot of piss, I guess. I mean, you know, here's the thing. It's obviously not helping, you know? Like, if you were, I mean, if someone said to me, hey, man.
It's safe and effective, you know, drinking piss.
It's safe and effective. It's sterile and effective, which is the one thing that it's sterile and effective that you did that night. Well, I guess that's true, you know? Anyway, yeah, just don't go out there.
They already have AIDS. They don't.
Yeah, just, I don't know. Yeah, it's fucking I don't know. It's hopeless. Just keep away from them. Keep away from everybody. I don't know. If you smell piss or if you smell piss or shit, stay away from the person, you know, on the bus or wherever you are. Be very selective in who you get to know, you know, and
on whose ass you're eating.
On whose ass? That's right. Yeah, exactly. You know, have.
Otherwise, you end up with the monkey bumps.
It's like I want to tell you. I want to tell people, take every test you can before you go. But it's also like, how about just an aptitude test? Can we just, you know, how about that instead? I think, you know, because that'll
you know what I think we need to do, Jerry, is I think we need to get back to like, judging our friends harshly, right? Like there was a time, right, in the 50s. Somebody would be like, oh man, you're not gonna believe what I did this weekend, man. I went out and I hooked up. You know, like if they would have said, it's totally different. You would have never admitted, you would have never bragged about banging some chick or whatever that you just met or whatever at the bar. You never would have. But now that's like a thing where you're just like, it's a hookup culture, right? I hooked up with this chick. I met her at the fucking thing. I ate her ass in the bathroom, right? You know, like that's like people brag about that stuff, right? But like I think we need to, back in the 50s, if you would have said that, somebody would have been like, what the fuck is the matter with you? What are you retarded? What are you, like, hosting a show on YouTube where you catch predators in Florida? Like, what's the matter with you, right? You know, that's like the attitude that they had back then. It was a very like different culture. But now, like, I think we need to get back to that where, like, remember when I said we need to make fun of people who get COVID? Or we need to be like, oh, what? You got COVID? Dude, you fucking loser?
You have to bring shame back a little bit.
You know, and we should do the same thing with I think monkeypox in itself, like if you've seen the people with monkeypox, it is so gross. Like it's so. I tried to explain it to the boys earlier today. I'm like, these people are fucking, you know, they're going out there and they're getting monkeypox because they're doing gay shit, and which is how I like address my kids, right? I tell them, I don't tell them like I don't sugarcoat anything. I'm like,
Dad, this is Wendy's. Can you know?
Right? we were in the Dairy Queen parking lot. I'm like, hold on, guy on the intercom. I'm talking to my kids about monkeypox and shit. But no, I'm telling them, it's so gross. Like they get monkeypox all over their mouth. It's fucking, like they get these big old boils and stuff. And one of them was like, so it's like leprosy. And I was like, it's exactly like leprosy. I hope it was more like leprosy. I wish it was more like leprosy. You know, but it's so, they get these nasty boils and it's all on their mouth and their hands and their genitals. Do you think,
by the way, can I ask you, like real quick?
Yeah.
In a more serious note, do you actually think it's monkeypox? Because I remember when this whole fake little new pandemic started to come out. Essentially, they were taking all those pictures from years ago and regurgitating them, and it was basically one person who maybe had a case, or it was like a shingles outbreak picture.
I think shingles looks much. When I look at these monkeypox pictures, the best way I can describe it to people is like if you took soggy Cocoa Puffs and you just whipped them at somebody at their face. That's what it looks like. Like they get like these Cocoa Puffs all over their mouth. It's so gross.
Oh, you're there. Okay.
Yeah. So like it's totally
you completely froze and some weird phone number, like phone sound happened while you were talking. I think the FBI guy fell asleep.
Oh,
I think the FBI guy fell asleep.
But no, it looks like
keyboard.
it looks like you take soggy Cocoa Puffs and just hurl them at somebody's mouth and face, and it just and then they
Ugh.
have all these. That's what it looks like when you look at the pictures. You're like,
I mean,
it's not like
yeah.
herpes, right? Herpes has a very distinct look where you're like, oh, gross, that person has herpes. But it's kind of like, it's like
Right.
you can cover it up with a little bit of concealer, right?
Yeah,
But
sure.
this Cocoa Puff, fucking monkeypox, is very like loud. Like it very much shows that you have monkeypox. It shows that you
Right.
did some gross gay stuff, right? So
Some
like,
shit happened
whereas
in your
shingles,
mouth.
yeah, whereas shingles is a little bit different. Like you can see shingles, and if somebody has shingles, you're like, oh, that dude has shingles, right? It's like all over their body, right? It might be on their elbows
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. You can see
Right.
that.
Right.
But like monkeypox, like no matter how much you cover yourself, you've got monkeypox on your mouth, which is why probably a lot of these homosexuals still wear their mask, and they're like, oh, it's COVID, but in reality, it's monkeypox, right? Nobody wants to be
Ah.
seen with a bunch of. They don't want people to know that they just chugged a bunch of dick and swallowed, a bunch of monkeypox cum,
Dude,
right?
there's a way to
Yeah.
fake compliance, right? It's like, oh no, look at all these people who still want to wear masks. And it's like, well, yeah, but it's because they have monkeypox on their face.
Yeah. Well, which
You
is
know?
worse, in my opinion. Can you imagine? Somebody's like, "Why are you still wearing a mask? COVID's over," and you're like, "Well, no, it's not that I'm
Mm-hmm.
scared of COVID. It's that I have monkeypox." Right?
Mm-hmm.
You'll never hear somebody. If you ever hear one of your friends admit that they have monkeypox, like I encourage chastising that person because you can be like, "Oh, what? You were sucking a dude's dick, right? Or you were eating a dude's ass? What's the matter with you, you fucking sicko?" Right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's what we have to look forward to in the coming. I look forward to Biden addressing this as a major health concern, right?
The 10th
Because
Biden.
he's at least the fourth that I've looked at them, and I've been
Mm-hmm.
able to identify four separate Joe Bidens, right? I can't buy
Wow.
into the 10 Bidens, right? But I will buy into four is at least where I'm at. But yeah, like he's gonna announce, because the WHO announced that monkeypox is a real legitimate health issue, a health crisis.
Yeah, they
Which
voted
tells
against
me,
it, and the guy came out and
yeah, and he went ahead and said, no, we're going to go ahead and call it a critical whatever. But now
right.
anybody who says that monkeypox is a legitimate threat to the people, I'm going to assume that they're homosexuals, right? Because they're like, well, it's a serious thing, right? Because you never know who can get it. Well, I know who can get it. It's gay guys or guys who do gay shit, right? Because nobody wants to admit that they're gay, but they're like, well, I've done some gay shit, but I'm not gay, right? I'm married to a woman, so I'm not gay.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, you know that they're gay. So yeah, if you ever meet anybody who has monkeypox, just go ahead and call them a big fat flaming homosexual, and be like, "There's no denying it, dude. You got monkeypox. I know that you did some gay shit, right? There's no denying it." Or your wife is hooking up with some guys who did some gay shit, but I gotta assume it's the former.
Oh boy.
Anyways, Jerry, you got anything you got to shill before we cut loose and get out of here?
Um, you know, you can follow me on Telegram. You can send me some messages. I get some occasionally from one guy. It's cool.
I periodically post on there to you.
Yes.
That's it. That's all.
To me,
post
yeah.
To.
That's it.
No, I got nothing. I got 1 month left until I'm done with school, and then we're probably gonna get back into the whole maybe studying before Wednesday shows, and we'll actually be learning about
Wow.
paranormal shit and conspiracy.
Holy
shit. I
free
don't know.
holidays.
We'll see where the night takes us. But yeah, other than that, I'm gonna be doing falconry shit. Tomorrow I'm gonna go and pick up some leather so I can hopefully make some equipment for this bird or whatever that I don't even have yet. I don't have a bird yet, but make equipment and be ready for it. And then and then I got to spend about $1,500 putting together a fucking birdhouse for this thing. Other than that, I don't. So if you want to buy a T-shirt, it would be appreciated because it'll help me pay for my bird that I have to house and equip and all that bullshit. So the Redbubble is there. Otherwise, check out my OnlyFans. It's Protect the Innocent at onlyfans.com. But yeah, if you do subscribe to her shit, be sure to share the pictures. Otherwise, we will see you all next week.